Blank check with Griffin and David. Blank check with Griffin and David. Don't know what to say or to expect. All you need to know is that the name of the show is Blank Check.
Do you know how I knew, David? I should have known all along. You know why? Because of the kids, David. They called me Mr. Podcast.
Boy, oh boy. That was too long.
Yeah. Ben, cut out the first 45 seconds of that intro.
Maybe.
Okay, I am Griffin Newman.
I'm David Sims.
You might know us better as The Two Friends.
Yeah, we're the two friends.
Hashtag The Two Friends. I re-listened to episode 1. I decided I really want to weaponize
you want
this,
to push
this season.
The Two Friends.
The Two Friends, I think, is a good branding hook.
Which was my idea.
Yeah, 100%.
We're the two friends.
We're the two friends. You might know us better as the host of Blank Check with Griffin and David. That's the podcast you're listening to.
Hey, guys.
Thank you for listening.
Yeah. And good night.
And good night. This is a little quickie. This is a bonus episode.
No, we have a guest with us.
We have a guest. Let's get
I
right
always
to
just
him.
want to get the guest in really quickly because it just freaks me out.
No,
They're
I
just
like sitting
there.
here. Just
He's
talk
got a
as
lot
much
to
as you
say.
can. I'm going to sit in the corner and just stare.
Yeah, he's going to turn around slowly.
Mhm.
No, we have a guest with us. You're hearing his voice right now, his melodious voice. Griffin? Let's trade this off. Keep going.
He is a host of the Fighting the War Room podcast, along with last week's guest.
Katie Rich, yeah, we're trying to get them all.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is like a Pokemon thing. We're gonna catch them all.
If you've been paying attention, there's certain collections we're trying to complete. So we still have a couple members from our trivia team to get on.
Almost none. Yeah, just two, I think.
Two biggies.
Yeah, two biggies.
And we have half of the Fighting the War Room team with us here.
So it's he's the entertainment editor at Thrillist.com.
That's correct.
Yes.
I was about to say, I have a real job, too.
Yeah, he has a real job,
no,
too.
Fighting in the Worm is a real job.
Yeah.
I have 8 real jobs.
8?
Yeah, I can't get in them all.
But Eagle Eye
do you do
listeners-
security at the University of Philadelphia?
Hey, it's Franklin Field, right? I'm from
Franklin Field.
Philadelphia,
Yeah, you're from
so
Philly.
this M. Night Shyamalan series is very important.
We
It's
finally
true.
have a
We
Philly
got a
expert
Philly
here in the
native on.
studio. Yeah.
It's Matt Patches.
Matt Patches.
We didn't say his name.
Yeah.
Hello!
Thank you for being here, Matt. Thank you for...
It is my pleasure.
so you
Twist, it's not.
Oh, bad twist.
I'm sorry, Twist it is.
Came too
hey,
early.
double twist. Do you commute all the way from Philadelphia here for the episode?
I took the train where that derailed, but I got off. And
Well, that's how you got here
I
so
made it.
fast. That's
Did
the
you
thing
have
there.
an encounter with a woman and you took off your
A
wedding
beautiful
ring and
woman.
and she had like a tattoo or something?
Was he
Guys.
unbreakable? Was he?
Guys, we're getting ahead
Emotional.
of ourselves.
Well,
the
wait.
audience doesn't even know what movie we're
That's
talking
true.
about.
We are talking about the first scene of the movie. though.
We're talking about Unbreakable. I mean, chronologically.
Well, that's not true.
You
The
should-
second scene of the movie, I should say.
Yeah,
Yes,
that's
sir.
true.
You got it.
Today we're talking about Unbreakable, which is Unbreakable, and it's M. Night Shyamalan's 4th feature film.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the 4th,
It's the 4th, number 4.
but people kind of view it as the sophomore film.
Yeah.
Because it was like, let's say this, it was the 4th movie M. Night Shyamalan directed. It was
Yeah.
the second quote-unquote M. Night Shyamalan film,
Right. Yeah.
after the point where that had become a brand.
After the rebirth.
Yes.
Yeah.
After the Lazarus pit.
Yeah, he came out of the Lazarus pit
Yeah.
and he had much more creative control.
Yeah.
Although apparently he hated how this movie was advertised, which is a common theme with M. Night Shyamalan, is that he doesn't like how his movies are marketed when they don't
How was
do
it
well.
marketed? Do you remember the trailers? It
Yeah, and I think it was marketed as like a thriller,
was definitely shadowy.
very dark posters, and like like
Glass
a poster with
shattering.
glass shattering and like really foreboding
Which
trailer.
seems emblematic of the movie.
Yeah,
that seems
seems
pretty
good.
fair.
I
The
think
movie
it's
is
good
dark
advertising
and brooding.
campaign.
It's dark as shit. I think he wanted it to be more of a superhero movie in its advertising, and he thought that they were just trying to be like, this is the new Sixth Sense movie. Which, that's what they're gonna do, man.
that's
you just made the
fascinating.
Sixth Sense.
That's fascinating. I have a lot to say on that matter, but I want to do a scooch of housekeeping first.
Yeah.
Just a scooch.
Yeah, scooch away.
This is episode 3 of
I
this.
almost knocked coffee all over the electronics a second ago, by the way. But I'm
Right. Who do
continuing
you
to
think
drink
you are?
coffee.
Rick the intern in the trailer with a scene that was cut out of the movie?
Is that in the deleted scenes
Dropping
of Drafty?
coffee? No, it's not. I got the Blu-ray and it's not fucking on there. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the 3rd episode of Blank Check with Griffin and David,
Yeah.
which rose from the ashes
Some
of...
would say it's the 2nd episode.
M. Night might.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Some might conveniently forget our Wide Awake Praying with Anger episode Not because it wasn't good, but because it was slightly off-brand for what we were going to become.
Built the foundation.
Built the foundation, definitely. It showed a technical skill set.
Deep down, though.
Deep down. Yeah.
The part nobody sees.
Deep foundation. A deep foundation. I'm going to keep on singing.
I just made my face to Griffin, which is the all right face.
On with it. The on with it face. No, this is important. Episode 3, since our rebranding as a brand new podcast that has nothing to do with the old podcast.
Right.
Great entry point for new listeners. Tell your friends about it. We have a new theme song.
Oh, yeah.
We have forgotten to mention.
That's true.
Because Ben doesn't play it when we're here, so I forget that it exists until I re-listen to the episodes. I'm like, oh, we should give credit where credit is due.
We totally should. My God.
Lane Montgomery.
It's just been shocking people. Yeah, Lane Montgomery.
Singer-songwriter extraordinaire, a pop maestro, better known sometimes as The Great American Novel, is his musical shingle, wrote the theme song for us.
Fantastic.
We're very grateful. You can follow him on Twitter or go online onto Bandcamp and such and look for his music. Great American Novel. Lane Montgomery. He's a great guy, and we are deeply indebted to him.
Okay. Housekeeping done?
Well, I think there's a guy we got to introduce because he keeps on twisting on us. Every week he's twisting on us.
It's true. He's in the room. He's
I'm
out of the
here.
room.
Yeah. I got an intern. He only works 2 days a week. All these twists, left and right. Ladies and gentlemen, sitting in
another room,
an adjacent room, not visible to our naked eyes, is Ben Hosley, a.k.a. Producer Ben, a.k.a. Purduer Ben, a.k.a. the Ben Deucer, a.k.a. the Haas, a.k.a. the Poet Laureate, a.k.a. Mr. Positive, a.k.a. Hello Fennel, a.k.a. the Tiebreaker, a.k.a. Birthday Benny, a.k.a. Kylo Ben,
Off the dome.
a.k.a.
Did you say Hello Fennel?
Producer Ben Kenobi. I said Hello Fennel. The
The
Peeper.
Peeper. Yeah.
Don't forget the Peeper.
Don't forget the Peeper.
Very important.
And I got a new one for you today, okay?
Uh-oh. Okay.
Ben was bragging a
I
little
really
bit,
don't think we should have a new one.
patting himself on the back when we were doing the audio levels, how crisp the audio sounded.
Okay.
Yeah, very crisp audio.
Yep.
So what are you going to call him?
Professor Crispy.
Oh, I don't like that. You know what?
No. Thumbs
No, thank
down.
you.
No, is that the first one we're
Yeah,
not?
no.
It's rejected.
The first one not to
that
stick?
at all.
Okay, Professor Crispy.
But we can refer to it.
I think it's the end of our housekeeping.
Yeah.
As always, rate, review, subscribe, listen to the other UCB podcasts. We've gotten some good reviews lately. People seem to like the Shyamalan stuff. We were worried.
Thank God.
But yeah, thank God. Woo! Wipe some sweat off our brows. Okay, Unbreakable.
Unbreakable. Hey, Patches.
Hey, I'm
All
on
right.
this episode.
Hella on
Yeah.
this episode.
We're gonna
Unbreakable.
break this movie up.
Yeah.
I didn't know that M. Night Shyamalan didn't like the marketing campaign. And that was actually one of the first things I wanted to talk about today.
Okay.
Because...
Did we all see this film in theaters when it was released?
I saw it with my grandma.
Wow. All right. What did she think?
I don't remember.
I saw it in theaters, and it I found it to be an alarming and disturbing experience. Like, it freaked me out.
Yeah, I saw...
I was still pretty, I was 14, I think. I was like,
Yeah.
ugh,
I saw
I
it
mean,
with
if
my
there
mommy,
was
it definitely
anything
freaked me
in
out.
The Sixth Sense that was for like young people
Right.
to enjoy, it was stripped away in Unbreakable.
That is
This is
true.
the
This is a
closest to
moody
Lars von
movie.
Trier
Yeah.
that Shyamalan will ever get. This is an unenjoyable film,
especially
but
for
like on purpose.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was 11 when this movie came out.
Yeah. Okay.
And it immediately skyrocketed into my top 10 favorite movies of all time.
What a weirdo.
I was-
Griffin's so weird. I mean,
Love
young.
this
kind of
movie.
get it. I feel like
Young
this is
Griffin
movie.
is
The
weird.
Adventures of Young Griffin.
Yeah.
Like if you're one of these Dark Knight lovers who just really are into the dark and the gritty and taking superheroes fantasy seriously,
Mm.
you maybe gravitate towards the Dark Knight, or you were really into the Boondock Saints at some point. But then
Were you
like
into the
people
Boondock
who are a
Saints?
little people who are a little more reasonable,
Uh-huh.
but still like want that dark gritty stuff, Unbreakable.
Well,
You know,
see,
like right below crazy Dark Knight people
Right,
who
over
spend
the top.
Yeah.
all day on IMDb putting that at the top.
I will say I like Batman Begins more than Dark Knight, which
I
I know
agree
puts
with
me
you.
in a minority. I think
I
it's
agree
a
with
far
you.
superior film.
I think they're both pretty great.
No, come
I
on.
like them both a lot, but I like Batman Begins more. I think it has less to do with the dark and grittiness and more that I, as an 11-year-old, was really attracted to movies about sad, broken men.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like The Dark Knight because it's about robot people and it's all like Michael Mann, and I love Michael Mann movies. I don't know. Whatever. We don't have to talk about The Dark Knight.
Yeah, I like
right
the Batman Begins as pulpier. But anyway, point is,
now. Batman Begins great.
love this movie. I had loved The Sixth Sense. I had loved Wide Awake, although even at this point, I did not realize they were the same filmmaker. That these were the same M.
We
Night
talked
Shyamalan.
about it, yes.
Hollywood has
Severe
a
lack of
ton M.
Rosie
Night
O'Donnell
Shyamalans.
in Sixth Sense and Unbreakable.
Yeah, the main thematic thread he was laying down, which was Rosie O'Donnell's going to be in all my movies, loving sports, and then she isn't. That thread is not.
Rosie was
carried
supposed
through.
to be the De Niro to Shyamalan Scorsese.
Exactly. Yes. I very vividly remember the marketing campaign for this movie because there was a lot of hype, and this comes out.
There was a lot of hype. That is for sure.
This comes out 14 months after The Sixth Sense.
It's November 2000. So, yeah,
15 months.
Sixth Sense came out August 99.
Which makes he's shooting this while he's writing an Oscar high, right? He was
Right.
nominated.
Yeah.
So you said this was.
this is the definition of blank check of what we're talking about, where they're like, okay, all right, you're the wonderkin, do what you want.
When did someone stamp him with the next Spielberg?
That Time magazine cover was signed. That was the next movie.
Okay.
Because the cover
it took Unbreakable.
Yeah, the cover where they said that he was in the cornfield. That's all I remember very vividly.
Where he spends most of his time.
Trying to look
they finally got a glimpse of his home.
Why is my
Turn
phone
your fucking
I did. I don't know
phone
why
off.
it's still fucking doing that, David.
God damn it!
I turned it off. It's on airplane
Yeah,
mode.
he's right. He's in the cornfield.
Wow.
So you said this was a spec sale? This was a spec script?
I can look up the details of it. I just want to show you guys.
Yeah,
There he is.
God, we'll talk a
There
lot
he
about
is.
that cover next
He
week.
looks like he's about to star in Lost.
And he's wearing
it's
a rope
very
necklace.
Losty. Yeah.
It's a very 2001, 2002.
What kind of shells are on his necklace that he's wearing there? Jesus.
And he's got one hand on the hip, but loosely, in a very get over it poster kind of pose.
He wrote it as a spec script. He approached Willis about it while they were making The Sixth Sense.
Okay, so you already had the script. That's what I wanted to know.
And he had Samuel L. Jackson in mind for the other character.
Yeah.
He wrote it as a spec script. He gave Walt Disney a first look deal. They bought it for $5 million.
Wow.
The script. Fucking M. Night.
I mean, Sixth Sense was pretty darn good.
They gave him another $5 million to direct.
Wow, so he got over $10 million.
He got $10 million before anything happened.
Yeah. I'd say.
And Julianne Moore was cast in the third role and
play
then
Robert
replaced
Hensfire,
because
yeah.
she went to make Hannibal,
Yes.
which
I
was
wonder
a
if that
decision.
what was that? Was that the right decision? I mean,
Hannibal was a big
it's not
hit.
like Robin Wright has a lot to do in Unbreakable. If you want the lead role of a movie
I
versus
agree.
this role,
I
it's
agree.
throwaway.
I definitely agree.
I think it's a pretty well written character though.
I was gonna say it's not a bad character, but of course it's very much the third lead of this movie, and
it's
we'll
a
talk
distant
about
third
it.
lead. But
Distant.
but it's got well written scenes. It's not a huge pivotal role. But
She
it's got
kills
really
Does
well
she get her husband? Doesn't she get her husband? A lot of motivation.
It's
there.
a simple.
She kills
yeah.
that one scene where.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Where
It
it's
sounds
she
like our
asks him the
conversation
question.
with Mr. Glass later.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
scene.
But yeah, you're right. Of course, yeah, she's very much beholden to this shuffling
What are the men up to?
golem
Yeah.
who barely seems to have emotions.
Well, okay.
I'm talking about Bruce Willis's character.
I thought you were talking about M. Night Shyamalan.
No, I think, yeah.
I want to go back a little bit to the marketing campaign. So he
all right, sure.
has the script ready. Sixth Sense blows up. He goes, "Hey guys, good news! I have a script right here under my butt. I was sitting on a script. Here it is for you." And they
Sure.
go, "Great! Here's a check for $5 million." And he starts production, presumably very, very quickly.
Yeah, I'm trying to see. Principal photography began in April 2000, so
Quick turnaround.
turned around pretty quickly.
I mean,
so this is right after the Oscars.
You don't need
Yeah.
a lot to make Unbreakable, right? He's like,
It's true.
Disney buys the script. Oh, we're making a superhero movie.
Yeah.
Okay, we need $100 million, capes. We're gonna have big set. No, dude, guys, it's Philadelphia again. They're just gonna walk around. Just get the rain machine.
Yeah.
$1 million for 3 days.
I need
It's
you to
gonna
buy
be
me
fine.
5 ponchos.
Yeah, but there's big action scenes, M. Night. There's big action. No. He's.
I just
it's
need
guy
a
in
swimming pool with a cover over it.
They just have to fight in the same bedroom as the Sixth Sense.
Yeah.
Don't worry
And
about it.
we're gonna. There's one big expense. Okay, M. Night. Anything. Blank check. Anything you want. We're gonna have to make some dents in a wall. You could blow the wall up. No, it's just like a wall in a house. We're gonna make a couple dents.
We could build the scenery. Do you think that's possible?
What about
to
the train
break-
crash that we're playing for? No. Don't. We do need a train car,
Yeah.
but it's just normal, just an Amtrak.
In fact, just one car, actually.
Yeah.
The rest of the train can function.
One could say that all the inciting incidents happen off screen. The big accidents in this
So-
film.
Hey,
But-
they paid for that aerial shot though.
That's true.
Yeah.
And they had to hire a stuntman for Samuel Jackson to fall down a flight
That's
of
true.
stairs.
Samuel Jackson does fall down a flight of
Hey,
stairs.
riveting.
you know what? Glass
set
canes
piece.
don't grow on trees, guys.
We're jumping around here, but I just
All right.
before I forget this, I saw a credit that really jumped out to me. Samuel Jackson famously has a hair guy he works with. As a man who is, let's not say follically challenged, but is perfectly bald. He has a hair guy where every time he takes on a role, he's like, okay, I want to design a new look.
Mhm.
Between facial hair, between the hair in my head,
He's
whatever it
got
is.
Frederick Douglass hair in this.
Yes.
Yeah.
But you notice he never repeats a look.
Well, he's bald a lot, but sure.
Not that often.
I know.
That's what's crazy. It's like almost always there's something where it's like, oh, Looper, I'm going to have gray hair.
Yeah, he definitely has all kinds of hair for a guy who doesn't have any hair.
Right. And he, that's the first thing when he signs on before he figures out the costume, he goes to his hair guy. And I never noticed this before. But in the credits, as they roll, and I assume this is the same guy he works with, because he says in interviews that, I worked with him for 20 years. I assume this is his guy, and not a guy M. Night Shyamalan brought on for this project. Samuel Jackson's hair, the name of the guy is Robert Louis Stevenson.
Fair enough. Is it Louis Louis?
It's spelled exactly the same way.
How bizarre.
Okay, marketing campaign. This is what I remember. I might be mistaken, but I feel pretty strong about this. I was a M. Night Shyamaholic at the point that this film was released. So I was
you were a nighty.
Eagerly awaiting. A nighty, yeah. Shout out to all our blankies out there. Eagerly awaiting the release of this film, looking for any morsel of pre-release, info, marketing, whatever. The poster was their two faces, shards of glass. I don't even remember what the tagline was, if there was one, but it was very ominous. Very
I don't know
sparse.
if there was a tagline.
I think there wasn't. I think the tagline was
let me look it up.
From the director of Sixth Sense. I think that's all you needed for a movie at that point.
Not from the director of The Sixth Sense. From M. Night Shyamalan, the director of The Sixth Sense.
He was a brand name.
He wants his name on there.
He was a brand name at this point. If I'm not mistaken, I believe this film had only one trailer. Only had a teaser.
Wow.
Didn't have a full trailer. Because I remember the entire superhero thing being sort of a surprise going into the film.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think it's not a twist. It was a gentle easing into.
Well, I don't know. Especially because the movie opens with those crazy titles about 100,000 comic books are read every day or whatever. And
14 billion pages.
I was not prepared for that.
That DNA is not in the marketing at all.
No.
It's just like a brooding thriller.
Oh, there is a tagline way down at the bottom of the poster, very small type.
Is it They're Alive, damn it?
Is he?
Are you ready for the truth?
Oh.
Question mark?
Yeah, that's very vague.
Not much of a tagline.
This is the teaser trailer I remember. It was the scene of him talking to the doctor after the crash. And he's like, are you sure you're on the crash? Da, da, da. Do you know why I'm asking you? Why are you asking me this? 2 questions. In the second, you're going to be the only survivor, and there's not a scratch on your body. And then there were a few quick shots of things. And then it cut to a close-up of Samuel Jackson and a voiceover. You hear him say, are you ready to hear the truth? Are you ready to find out what you were meant for? And that was the whole trailer. Piece of glass breaks. The shards turn into Unbreakable. Right? That was the full trailer. And it felt like, okay, spooky M. Night thriller.
Right.
It's not a horror movie, but it's about a guy who can't get hurt. What's going on here?
Scary phenomenon.
And the truth.
Ooh.
Yes. Right.
And not which it was a recent release-ish, right? No,
I think that's like 96,
97.
Yeah.
A Touchstone picture.
Okay, go on.
They were keeping it in the family.
Of film history, he means. It
was a Touchstone picture released by
Touchstone
Pictures. I'd say probably the Touchstone.
Touchstone wants all of its pictures to be Touchstone Pictures.
Oh, of course. I mean, Outrageous Fortune. People think about that as a real turning point in American
they teach
cinema.
it in film school.
Yeah.
Okay, so hello. What's your point? Yeah, you saw the trailer. It was a thriller. What is your point here?
My
Griffin
point
was
is
spooked.
Yeah. My point is, at this point, M. Night Shyamalan was the twist guy. Yeah. And I think they were keeping a really sort of tight grasp on this movie to make it a twist movie. Audiences weren't going to know what they were going to see.
Yeah, they were definitely playing on the this is the guy who made the big twist movie that was a scary movie.
Yeah.
This is the poster. You guys know the poster, right?
Yes.
I do. It's intense.
It's intense. And Sam Jackson is a big deal, He's not like he is now where he's just seen everything.
Well, he had just been in Star Wars Episode 1.
Sure.
So he was huge.
But he was a little less
And he was wearing purple again.
He did.
Which is key.
Which is
He
so
loves
key.
purple,
Loves
so
purple.
now he's in all purple, and you're like, they've really upped the ante of this movie. The purple is off the charts.
This movie's going all out. They're
was-
not just going to give him a fucking light sword. They're going to...
I feel like now Sam Jackson he'll be in a lot of movies. Back then it was he was a leading man, a coast, he'd be in
Yes.
Rules of Engagement, The Negotiator, Sphere, those sort of Sam Jackson's one of your leads.
He does a lot now. His ubiquitous presence
Long
in the
Kiss
Marvel
Goodnight.
movies makes him feel it's easy to take him for granted because it's he's just gonna pop up in a bunch of shit and do a scene or two. Also, the Capital One commercials don't help because it just feels like anytime you turn on a screen, Samuel Jackson's doing a little something. So it's
It's the same thing over and over. But
he's
sometimes
the
good,
best.
sometimes
he's the
bad.
best.
Sometimes Capital One, sometimes
Yeah.
She-Rock.
But you know, our friend and your podcasting co-host David Ehrlich in this recent Oscar season has been talking a lot about Samuel Jackson, how much we underrate him as a culture, and I do think it is because he is so omnipresent.
Yeah, it's because he does a lot,
and he's so consistent. Like he's never bad.
No, I agree with
Sometimes
that.
you're like, okay, I've seen this before. I get it.
Yeah.
But if that was the first performance you'd ever seen from a guy, you'd be like,
sometimes
who
it's
the
like
fuck is this
Kingsman,
guy?
and you're like, oh, so his whole idea was a lisp? Like,
I think that's a great performance.
I think he's very funny in Kingsman. I don't know if he's why I like that movie.
He would have made my long list best supporting actor candidates for 2015. I'll say that. He'd probably be my 10th choice for best supporting actor in 2015.
I think there's other Samuel L. Jacksons from this year.
I'd say that one was
deserve
Lee.
it more.
I think it's maybe his third best performance of 2015.
Age of Ultron?
No, Chirac. He's incredible.
Oh, right, Chirac. He's
Hateful
incredible.
Eight.
Yes, but that's
Hateful
lead.
Eight.
That's lead. That's
Hateful
lead.
Eight.
That's
Yeah.
lead. I do a double number.
Anyway, we're sidetracked.
Anyway, another thing to point out here: Bruce Willis and Samuel Jackson together have a great track record at this point.
Right, Die Hard with a Vengeance.
And Pulp Fiction.
And Loaded Weapon 1.
Oh yeah,
Three
sure.
classics so far. You know.
So here, that's what people are coming in thinking. They're
They
like,
got the Loaded Weapon.
we had
guys
Loaded
back
Weapon
together?
1.
Right.
No way.
They shared no scenes in Pulp Fiction. Did they share a scene in Pulp Fiction? No, they don't. Right?
No, I don't think
Yeah,
so. I don't think
so.
they ever cross over. Yeah.
And then yeah, you've got the other one we had just
Die
said.
Die Hard with a Vengeance.
Die Hard
which
with a
they're
Vengeance.
great in.
Yeah,
They're both great
they are
together.
Yeah.
Great chemistry. So that's all you know going into this movie.
That's enough. That's a sell.
So let's
Yeah.
talk about the movie Unbreakable, Griffin.
Okay. So I loved this film at the time of its release. I, for a very long time, would watch this film at least once a year. I had not seen this film, I think, since 2010. So this is like the longest stretch I've gone without seeing this movie.
Okay. I had not seen it since theaters. Me and Matt were talking.
I've probably seen it on DVD or something, maybe in college again, but not since, no memory.
Yeah.
No recent memory.
I was going into this rewatch. I watched it last night, yesterday afternoon, and I was going into it prepared to come here and say, hey, disclaimer, if I can't be really objective about this, this is one of my favorite movies. It is, of all the movies we've ever covered on this show, the movie I like the most.
Uh-huh.
Which, considering we've covered a lot of movies that we don't like, doesn't sound that
Wait,
huge.
including like the original Star Wars
That's what I was
movies?
going to say. That's what I was going to say 100%.
That's nuts.
This rewatch diminished a little.
Yeah. It's a flawed movie.
It's a flawed movie.
Seriously flawed.
It's not better
movie.
than Star Wars.
From 2000,
Exactly.
From 2000 to 2010, Griffin would
It was
argue
just
that this
one of
film
your
was
faves.
perfect.
Right. That's
And anyone who
crazy.
had any complaints, I'd be like, you are dumb.
I think a lot of people agree with you because what I remember, I haven't seen the movie in a very long time, but I feel like I hear about it every few years because either M. Night is being asked about a sequel or, I feel like MTV mounted an entire campaign to like actually ignite sequel plans and stuff.
Apparently, Bruce Willis wanted to do a sequel too. He would talk about like, yeah, we want me and Sam to fight and like
Of course he wants to do a sequel.
Yeah.
It's an action movie,
Right.
quote unquote, with
Right.
no moving around.
Yeah.
It's perfect for him. This is the moment.
It's very true.
Well, but much like Georgie Porgy Lucas, our old friend with the original Star Wars, where when he was writing Star Wars in 1977, when he was writing in the early 70s
Oh my
for
God, what's your
1977,
point?
he wrote this big thing, and they were like, this script is unwieldy. And he was like, okay, I'm going to take Act 1 of this script and make it into a movie.
So that's what Unbreakable is certainly, it's just an origin movie.
Was supposed to be,
right.
that was supposed to be Act 1 of the film, and he was like, this is too big, I have too many ideas, I'll try to make it a trilogy, I'm just going to take what is my planned Act 1 and make that the whole script. And at the time, for years, I was so angry that he never got to make the other films. That's the other big shift I had watching at this time. I was like, no, good thing he probably only made this one.
Well,
I still love this movie, but I think we would have had diminishing returns.
Yeah.
I don't really trust him to have made the second film well. And B, like at the point where you make the sequel, as much as it's like, come on, get to the action. It's like, won't it just then be like Blade 2?
Well, I'm trying to
You
think
know?
of who would be the villains in Unbreakable
Right.
2 based on how like muted
right.
Unbreakable is.
That's the
you
thing,
know?
like,
This movie is muted at every turn. That's
very
what we have to
muted.
talk about.
Muted's the
Every
word.
time that it makes a choice, it makes the choice to be muted and dark and slow.
Yeah.
Like
Sad.
unfathomably, glacially slow.
Yeah, but I think sad's a big word, because I think this
Yeah.
film's very depressed in a
It's
way I
sad,
relate to.
but that implies that there's a lot of emotion to these scenes, which I would say it's muted, everything is very muted. I'm not saying like it's emotionless per se.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
it's just not over the top sad. If you know what I mean. You know, like no one's crying. Well, you know, mostly.
Well, no,
Robin
I
Wright
mean,
cries.
And Bruce Willis like chokes up a lot. Like Bruce Willis has like several glassy-eyed moments in this one. This is maybe the most he's come close to crying in one film.
Yeah, it's more like crying
He
if you're
cries a
smelling a lot
lot.
of onions or something.
Yeah.
It's not quite crying
Yeah.
because you're upset.
He
Like,
cries a lot.
"Argh!"
I'm gonna bring it up again. 12 Monkeys. The
Oh,
scene
right.
where he listens to Blueberry Hill
Yeah.
on the radio in 12 Monkeys is the best Bruce Willis scene in any Bruce Willis, like in terms of his acting and that's wonderful.
I always forget the 12 Monkeys exist.
12 Monkeys, I've watched it like a million times because
Good
it was a
movie.
movie I owned on VHS. So I
Yeah.
would just, you know, one of the back in the day, pre-Netflix.
Time to watch Cop Out again.
Oh, we talked about Cop Out with Katie.
talked-
What a movie!
I think we're gonna talk about it every episode.
Oh.
Even now, we're out of. Well, so let's talk. Let's talk
I
about.
just kicked the table.
Let's talk about Bryce a little more, okay? So at this point,
Bryce?
Bryce Willis.
Okay.
I saw like a Stella live show like 10 years ago where they went on this rant where they were like, "Oh, and Bryce Willis, what, you think you're better than us now?" And they just did like 4 minutes of calling him Bryce Willis and be like, and then eventually 4 minutes in, they paid off with like, "Yeah, you think you're so cool? You're gonna make us all call you Bryce now? Fuck you. We're gonna call you Bruce."
Okay.
They invented a nickname for him and antagonized him for throwing it upon us. Bryce Willis. At this point, it feels like, jokes aside, like, okay, this is the De Niro, Scorsese of
Right.
touchstone
Rosie,
thrillers.
You do The View.
Yeah,
It's Bruce now.
right. But he's going to make Bruce movies now.
Okay.
And this script feels, even if he had the script already, it feels like he maybe refitted it, retailored
Bruce?
it to Bruce.
To Bruce A.
Because we were saying last week, we think Bruce Willis's performance is very good in The Sixth Sense.
Yeah.
But also, it's not a classic Bruce Willis character.
No.
It's, you
There's
know,
no wisecracking.
right. But, and this doesn't have any wisecracking either.
No.
But
Nobody
it
cracks
feels-
wise for the 106-minute running time. Not once.
I fucking love this performance. I think he's great in this movie. I know, I have a feeling I'm not going to have...
No, I think he's all right. I mean,
I don't think he has a lot to do. He's
Yeah.
a pawn here for the mood. It's all the mood.
Yeah, I think that he's okay.
Well,
he's good.
This is what I'm going to argue. I think it's one of his best performances, if not his best.
Well, Quentin Tarantino agrees with you.
Really?
Yeah. Tarantino loves this movie.
Tarantino says this is one of the best
reason.
movies released in his, like, since 92, since he started making movies. And he says it's Bruce Willis's best performance.
Yeah, I mean, I'm almost inclined to agree with that. I also think maybe Quentin should rewatch and see if he diminishes a little. I just went
Give
down
it a rewatch, Quentin.
I went down a little, right? Because I used to think this movie was flawless, and now I'm aware of the flaws.
This
but
movie
still
is
love
not
it.
flawless, but what it is meticulous.
Yeah.
And, like, very, like, you know, there's a lot of intent in every, like, in the way he frames all these shots to look
Yeah.
like these sort of comic book frames. And, like, I don't know, the way he very, very slowly builds up this, like, you know, like, it's not even a mystery. I mean, I guess it's an
Yeah.
art, like, this myth.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
And so I can see that, like, it's, you know, like, you can admire the intent of that. It is a controlled movie.
Yeah.
But hello, come on, guys, can we talk like
Why
at a
not?
human like level of discourse
Right.
here?
Well, don't you think that the movie is? We should back all the way up.
Let's
You
back all the way
you
up.
touched at it before, but the opening title card is this absolute nonsense about comic book.
It's a
collecting.
Wikipedia entry, like a
Like,
sidebar on a
what-
Wikipedia
what-
page. Yeah.
Doesn't this whole movie feel in conflict to whatever that is setting up? Like someone about comic books, about.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
the movie gets into that.
little bit.
Elijah's theme is about like how comic books shape us, or
Right.
how they inform what we think of as heroes.
And the sense that there's some sort of connection to our past about what we're
Yeah,
capable
That's not.
of
That
as
has
a
nothing to do with
species.
fandom. That has nothing to
No,
do
not
with
at
comic
all.
book collecting and how many you will read or
Yeah.
collect if you're obsessed with comic
It
books.
more seems like Shyamalan being like, comic books are a serious business, guys, and
Yeah.
you should take that seriously. Like, because
Right.
it is like the end of the '90s, I guess, and nobody thinks of like comic book movies.
This is November 2000.
Now, remember,
X-Men had
has
come out 4 months earlier.
Yeah, and been
Yeah.
surprised everyone with like
Right.
being a pretty decent movie that was a success.
And-
you know,
But the first X-Men is, you know, looking back at it now, especially with how much shit's shifted
looking
since
back
then.
at it now, it is fucking charming as shit.
Oh, I love the first X-Men.
Because it's like there's like 4 characters.
Yes.
Nothing happens in that movie too.
Not much
It's kind of the
happens.
That's what I was gonna
Unbreakable
say.
of the current comic
Yeah.
book wave.
Yeah.
The original X-Men is pretty austere in
It's
a weird
slow,
way.
It's moody.
Yeah.
And like I mean,
It's
we should talk
pretty
about it
like
sometime.
dramatically, like, you know, emotionally overwrought.
And the
like,
big
yeah.
plan is like Magneto's gonna get in like a little platform he built on a park near the city, and he's gonna
run the torch.
shoot some rays. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
like
the Statue of Liberty.
it's the
They're lifted
Statue of
from
Liberty,
Ghostbusters.
right. Yeah.
Yeah, you know the Statue of Liberty from Ghostbusters too.
Yeah.
She's a great actress. Got a lot of range. Sometimes you can hang out in her torch, and sometimes
Lady
you can dance
Liberty.
down the street.
Oh my!
But so wait, let's talk about the opening of this movie. So you've got that right, and then you have like.
Well, this is what I want to say. No, because
Go ahead.
I think you saying that he was unhappy with the advertising campaign is interesting because I wonder if that opening title card was in the script originally, or if after he saw they were advertising it as a thriller, he was like, "I want to get the audience primed for."
See, it feels
the
like
comic
it feels
booky
like the
stuff.
original
David,
idea.
put my hand down.
It feels like the original idea that was then transformed into the movie he made afterward, which is more like
Yes.
Sixth Sense.
Right. Yes.
Because you can imagine a more comic booky version if this was
Yeah.
if the whole movie was the first act of something.
Mhm.
And
Right,
it's like going
right. Yes.
battling.
Yes.
I don't
Yeah.
know, a man with a hammer for a hand or something.
Oh,
That's
you're talking about Hammerhand?
Hammerhand. That was the original villain of the
Dr.
movie.
Hammerhand?
It is he could just beat the shit out of Mr. Glass. I mean, we'll get to this.
Right.
That's
I'm
what
your
I don't
I'm your
know.
arch enemy. Oh, really?
That's why there can't be a satisfying sequel. That's why the film has to end where it does.
I mean, I guess Mr. Glass is just like a Luther type, like villain from the background, right?
well, that's what they say at the end of the
Well,
movie.
maybe he gets a
but-
really big, strong guy to carry him around like Baby Voldemort.
Oh yeah,
You
or
know,
he's like
carrying Mr.
Krang
Glass.
in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, like he's operating
Oh,
some
yeah.
sort of
He hangs
suit.
out in
The
someone's belly.
The glass suit.
So the movie opens with those titles. Then we have like Mr. Glass's origin
Yeah.
moment, which is his birth.
Fucking horrific.
It is.
Oh,
It's
I say-
really.
yeah.
Yeah, you can
Oh,
swear.
you can say
do
whatever
it.
you want.
Fuck.
Yeah.
It's really horrific. I think it's really well done. I think it's Eamon
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 yes,
Walker,
who's
yeah.
a great actor.
Good
An
actor,
I
plays the
love.
doctor, and like you don't really see the baby, like doesn't look disfigured or anything, but
Yeah.
just the whole mood of it is like really creepy. That all the baby's
I wanted
bones
to
are broken.
see glass broken baby. Is that weird? I just
No,
wanted to
I
I wanted
just-
him to pick up this baby and it be a puddle, like a hanging, like Gak. I wanted it to look like Gak with kind of some bones around it. Be
Gak
like,
baby.
we got to put this back together.
I feel like that would come with like a He-Man toy. It was like you get a bucket of slime and it'd have bones like stuck into it, like little plastic
Yeah, the
bones.
Unbreakable toy line
Yeah.
actually had that
Yeah,
originally,
it
but you
was
didn't.
purple gack with bones in it, with bone shards.
Glass baby.
That was the Mr. Glass action figure. Merchandise spotlight. This entire sequence is done in one continuous shot with no edits.
Oh really?
Yeah.
I guess
And
yeah.
this film from the get-go, M. Night's getting showy.
It's very showy with, like what I was saying, with the framing of every shot. And go on.
Yes. Well, he perpetually, over the course of the film, frames the characters into frames within the frames
Yeah.
to resemble comic book panels. So there are a lot of scenes that are done through door frames or windows, or even the thing on the train where it's only seen from between the two chairs.
Which is cool.
Very cool. But he's separating characters into separate boxes, which is, often his films are about people who need to learn how to reconnect with other people. That's like the main, I feel like, overarching theme of M. Night Shyamalan's films is like emotionally repressed men who feel the need to reconnect with their spirituality, with their family, with their career, whatever it is. They have to find their connection back to their thing after being self-isolated for a while.
Mm-hmm.
There's all that sort of framing stuff, but it's a lot of like, this movie does not have many edits. A lot of sequences play out in just a couple shots, and he's not doing like shot, reverse shot. He's doing like, here's my master, and I might cut into, punch into one detail to emphasize it. But other than that, it's very slow. It's
Well, there's
very
nothing to like
methodical.
cut to because nothing happens in the movie, so it's not.
Very
You
good
don't even
points.
need an insert because there's actually there are no props.
There are
in the
not a lot
movie
of set pieces.
other than the cane
But even
Other than
something
that, yeah.
like The Sixth
and the
Sense.
poncho.
You got- but he wears it, so you always get that.
Yeah.
Sixth Sense, which is also, pretty methodical
Yeah.
and deliberate. Within dialogue scenes, he'll cut between two close-ups.
No,
And this
I
movie
agree with you.
barely does
It's
it.
somewhat showy, and like I love that. I mean, I don't love is too strong, but I think the train scene is suspenseful
Yes.
in a cool kind of way. Where even though it is like, oh, look at this creep like hitting on this lady, like
Yeah.
taking his ring off, and it's not a great way to be introduced to Bruce Willis's character.
That tells you a lot.
No, I know, but
Yeah.
but there is a lot of suspense where you're like, what is going to happen here? Like
Right.
it's not cutting, and where
The movie is very suspenseful, just because you have no idea where.
Yes.
Not
Yeah.
like
you can't
because
really.
you're on the edge of your seat because of something internally with the movie,
Right.
But even I'm thinking after the train wreck, he's sitting on the.
on the hospital, and then
operating
the
table or
blood is
whatever.
spreading on the like gauze in front of
Yeah.
him in like the sort of
Yeah, and that's another like frame within a frame where we're seeing someone get operated on, and you're just like
in the foreground, out of focus.
What is going on in this
this?
movie?
That is how I feel about most. Where you're like,
I love it.
And I guess that's fulfilling if you can pay off and not really. You can stick the landing in some way. All of that mystery is valuable.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's why I'm so surprised that he wanted the marketing campaign to reveal that it was a superhero movie, because I feel like the whole movie functions on this sort of idea that the audience has no idea where it's going on a scene-to-scene basis, you know? What kind of film it is, even. And even watching it now, it's still, like, we've seen it before. We know. But it still does feel like there's such an air of unease, even if spooky things aren't happening.
Unease is a good, certainly, way to put it.
Unease is,
that's
like,
the
thing. But look at these 3 opening sequences, right?
And
like,
you are also, like, this is the Sixth Sense movie guy. I think the whole time you're like,
oh, yeah.
I'm
what's he
waiting
gonna
for
do?
it.
Yeah, is Misha Barton going to show up again and barf all over everyone? Yeah.
That'd be such a good twist if every film had Misha Barton barfing on somebody.
God. And he had to just keep going to it, even as Misha Barton's career craters. He's like, Misha, we're getting you in.
There was a point where she would have gotten the and, where she had gotten big,
right.
and they would have had to put her above the title. And then there's a point where he's like, I'm doing it as a favor. Misha's been there with me since the early days. Those 3 sequences are all really, really showy cinematically. It's a director being like, okay, I'm going to fucking use my tricks now. And we've always talked about
also being like, I have your attention. Yeah.
Right. I'm gonna lead you down. You got to follow me now.
Just based on my name, like I mean, here I have the title card.
Right. No Marvel executive would allow any of the artistry
that's
that
the
takes
thing.
place in this movie.
That's the thing that's most fascinating. So he has that title card written, produced, and directed by M. Night Shyamalan. I just screenshotted it just because it just amuses me.
Yeah.
That's
right over Bruce Willis's
Bryce
face.
Willis.
Sleepy Bruce Willis.
All 3 of these sequences are showy. We've talked a lot about how Shyamalan...
But there's no train crash. Like, we don't see a train crash.
We've talked a lot about how Shyamalan was like a child of Spielberg. And I feel like Spielberg's strongest skill as a filmmaker, the thing that I think puts him over the edge, is that he is ingenious with blocking. Like, he knows how to block scenes and block characters within a frame and, sync the camera movements with character movements and everything. So there is an economy of shots. He can tell as much as he possibly can within the fewest number of shots possible. And action informs character, movement informs character, from all of that. And this is like him doing that to like the nth degree, but like really kind of cramming it in your face. Where the opening thing with the baby being born, he uses like there's a mirror against the wall.
Yeah.
So it's like her coworkers are standing in the door frame. The doctor walks in. He's going between the mirror and flipping the camera around so he can like get both people's responses in one shot because they're facing the same direction.
Done. It's something you don't see today because we don't make these medium budget movies anymore where you have enough money and enough time to compose and light but then it's either now he's making low budget movies, he would never be able to do this, or big budget movies you'll never have the artistry.
And this movie's beautifully lit. It's very
it's shot by Eduardo Serra, I think.
It's a great one of the greats.
The main character of this movie is James Newton Howard's music.
Music is terrific. And I think very thought through. I think they were like, let's make this moody superhero score.
Here's the thing I remember distinctly, because the Unbreakable soundtrack's kind of my jam. I listen to it all the time. And when I'm trying to like pump myself up and feel like a hero and like I'm going to save my marriage, I listen to the Unbreakable score. He gave the script to James Newton Howard before they started filming and asked him to write themes so that he could work sequences knowing emotionally what the music was going to play like. So I believe James Newton Howard had the Mr. Glass theme and the Mr. Poncho theme set, and he was like, okay, these are my jams.
Poncho.
Yeah, Monsieur Poncho is his name. You know that thing where they say, like, whatever you see, your first interaction with sexuality as like a child, like forms you in some way, where it's like your
Where's
fetish
this going?
You're gonna see.
I can't wait.
You're gonna see. But you know what I'm saying? It like ties into like, oh, like this person, the first person you saw naked was a redhead, so you like redheads or feet or whatever.
I didn't know that they said that, but okay, sure.
There's like something of like if you have a formative experience at a young age, your
saw
fetish
Bruce
is
Willis's bald head.
What's your point?
And now I shave my genitals based off of Bruce Willis. My point is, I was watching this movie and I was like, God, this movie does almost everything I like cinematically. Like it follows all the principles where it's like I like a minimum of edits. I like camera movement, block, all this sort of like the style of the film is very much how I like films to be directed.
Is that because you saw Unbreakable at a
That's
young
what
age?
I wondered, because I feel like at 11,
chicken egg thing.
At
here?
11, right? Like I'm like, oh, director. Like Tim Burton is clearly a director because all his characters look the same. You know?
When you're 11 and you're like trying to identify like, okay, what makes a director when I'm watching a movie and I can't see the director?
Right. I'm like, all his characters have dark circles around their eyes. He's a director. I get the through line between all his movies, you know? And like Joe Dante, I was like obsessed with Small Soldiers. I was like, okay, he makes movies about little things that terrorize big people. Auteur, right?
He is.
Like those were like my favorite director. Oh, he is. He's one of my favorite directors still. But those were like two guys who jumped out to me in early age. It's like, okay, I'm seeing like through lines. And then M. Night Shyamalan, I was like, I'm seeing cinematic language in like a very basic way. As like an 11-year-old, I was like, this movie's clearly directed. And I'm paying attention to like that scene where he's speaking to the doctor. The fact that it's like, you don't see what they're operating on.
Do you see a lot of repetition, not just in, well, it's not repetition, but he obviously evolved from Sixth Sense to here, and it's more composed, and it's
I think
more
also trusted himself
Yeah,
more.
definitely.
Yeah.
But I think he repeats himself a little this movie, like trying to, mirror Sixth Sense. Like the whole gun scene when his son pulls a gun, I'm like, wait, this is exactly, watching it again, it's exactly what happens in the opening of Sixth Sense.
Yeah.
And a lot of just like the walking around Philly and that kind of stuff.
Which I like that stuff better. But yeah, I mean, and I think the scene with the doctor is a little obnoxious, where it's like, it's well done, but at a certain point you're like, okay, we get it. The train crashed. He's not injured. The doctor's like, and you're sure you were on this part of the train?
And then
you're sure. And there's one person who survived, and he's right there. The blood guy. Yeah, that's the other survivor, and he's dead now. Dead. He doesn't say those. But it's the movie.
Are you unbreakable? Are you unbreakable, dude? And then they let him go.
Questions.
They let him
walk
out.
He just walks out of...
Oh, you're unbreakable, actually, but see ya.
Yeah, I know.
Just come back in 6 weeks.
I do kind of like the idea where the doctor's like, well, nothing wrong with you. I guess you could go. Like,
he does this a couple times in the movie, though, and I really like it, where there's, like, something out of focus in the foreground, or characters who are speaking are in the background. The foreground detail just looks like a compositional thing. Yeah. And then as it goes on, it's like, oh, no, wait, that's an important detail.
But
that's called twist making.
Twist!
So this, okay.
It's a pretzel shop, this movie.
But, okay, so then...
I'm saying I do think this film established a lot of what I like in filmmaking in a weird way. Like, watching this again, I was like, oh, this is sort of the Rosetta Stone for me, where, like, I was able to identify, like, oh, that's a very conscious choice to, like, cover with a mirror so that you can get both people in one shot.
Does it feel textbook? Does it feel like this is a science, and I've now replicated, I've taken parts from all the Hitchcock and Spielberg and taken all these parts and made this amalgamation that's using comic book language to speak to a contemporary audience?
I think so, to a degree. I said in our first episode, and I like want to keep on using this phrase, I think he's a very algorithmic filmmaker, in terms of trying to get audience response, but also he just has obviously a very good sense of technical craft and of film language.
I think we have made that point.
Right. But he is definitely cribbing from the greats, and I also feel like this movie...
As great artists do.
As they do. I feel like this movie was him going like, okay, I'm just going to show him like all the shit I can do. Let me do a bunch of cool stunts, Like,
yeah, this is his Channing Tatum pony moment.
Right, exactly. He's doing like all the moves.
Damn, M. Night!
But in a movie that is
Thrust.
so like...
austere.
I'm now picturing M. Night thrusting.
M. Night just doing the...
Not even the full dance. I'm just picturing M. Night fully dressed in a bedroom by himself, just thrusting. This is a film that is so emotionally bottled, that is so austere, and he's doing like backflips in like
that's the That's
the language of the thing.
Because the movie, I said glacial before.
Yeah,
we get it at the start. He's unbreakable. This is the thing. The movie spends Bruce Willis' character has to spend so much time like confronting the reality of this, even though he was in a fucking train crash and they're all dead and he doesn't have a scratch on him.
I love that. Don't you think in real life if that happened to you, you'd be like, what the fuck? You'd have a really hard time accepting it?
I think the movie is convincing, but I mean, he goes to this whole thing. He's like, have I ever been sick? And she's like, oh, I can't remember.
I think
not in the last few years.
There would be more momentum to understanding why this would happen to you. Like, I just survived. I'm unbreakable.
Right. What the hell? Yeah. I mean,
I would be punching walls or some shit.
I guess one of the things that the movie does to sort of combat that is like he walks back into his life and you realize like, oh God, this is a guy who's like basically having a midlife crisis.
Right.
His job is like he's a security guard and he doesn't know what to do. And
I'm unbreakable, but my emotions are so susceptible.
They are in shards.
A lot of similarities.
His wife is basically going to leave him. Maybe his kid. I mean, there's something wrong with that buddy. He's sorry, Spencer Tree Clark, but he's a weird looking dude.
Was that Ben laughing at that?
Yeah. That was Ben laughing. Spencer Tree Clark is like a zombie in this movie.
He's got like the blackest, like
You know
Bobby
what?
Durst eyes.
No, you know what he looks like? He actually looks like Haley Joel Osment, but in that scene in AI where he
Where he's
put too much
melting?
spinach
Yes.
in his
Yeah.
mouth and his face is drooping. And I'm like,
God, that scene's so creepy.
whoa.
Yeah, he does, but he also like he's always shooting Bruce this like vacant stare.
Yeah.
You know, of this like, oh, you're like, are you a
Put on
superhero?
all these weights, all of them.
Could I speak to the lifting scene?
Yeah, because
Please.
I mean that's basically the next big thing, right? I mean, I guess Bruce talks to Mr. Glass, who's this. We have all these scenes of Mr. Glass.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like comic books. The covers are important.
Yeah, that
Here,
scene where
let
he
me-
yaps at the customer in
Yeah.
his gallery is quite funny.
Killed me as a child. There's also the scene.
So true. They
Yeah.
are art.
Yeah. Do you see a Asian child with a blank expression outside and a little rocket ship that jiggles when you put in a quarter, vibrates when you put in a quarter? No, because this is not a toy store.
And then he talks to Bruce Willis and he's like, you're a superhero. And Bruce Willis is like, okay, well, you're crazy. And then he lifts. So, Ben, you wanted to talk about the lifting scene. He lifts like 300 pounds, 350 pounds, something crazy.
I just feel like that was such a tame scene. Like, there were so many opportunities to do, like, a fun montage.
Something absurd.
A fun.
Like,
the
have
movie
him-
just suddenly kicks into a fun montage?
Yeah, like have
Eye
him
of the
lifting
Tiger
up a
plays.
car with his son, and they're laughing, and they go to the zoo, and he lifts up an elephant. Shit like that.
So, Ben, you wanted this to be just a totally different movie, is what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean, I can't. What can I say? I have big ideas.
They could be lifted by Bruce Willis in Unbreakable.
That scene is another scene like we were talking about where, like, you know, where he's keeping the camera away from the weights themselves.
Yeah.
And Spencer Treat Clark keeps,
Yes.
like, popping off screen and then coming back on, and he lifts it, and he's like, oh, you put more on, didn't you? Which, like, Bruce Willis, like, turn your head from left or right. You know, come on. Like, but
What?
he's seeing what we can see.
Maybe,
right?
it's
maybe
what
we
Katie
all
said, it's movie
OD'd
logic.
on twists from M. Night in this movie because
Yeah, there's
each
a lot of
scene
little twists.
is
Yeah.
like a little
Is-
twist.
Well, okay, we're missing. You skipped over a big part. There's a flashback to him as a little boy. He's framed in the television set. He's inside a little isolated frame, right? His mom comes up. He has a broken arm and a cast.
This is Mr. Glass.
Mr. Glass.
Yeah.
Yes.
When he gets
right, and she leaves a
his
comic
name
book
is
across the street.
Elijah Price, I think
Elijah
is his
Price,
actual
yes,
name. Yeah.
Yes. She leaves a comic book across the street, and he has to go across the street to get it. And he opens it up, and it's the camera twists, and it's clearly like a big revelation moment. She goes, "There'll be one of these here every morning if you're brave enough to go across the street and set." Do you know what I'm going to say now?
I hope you're going to quote the next line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then she goes,
I'm getting giddy here.
"Yeah, I hear this one has a surprise ending." So he's already playing with the expectations of being like, I know you guys think I'm going to fucking do the M. Night Shyamalan. You guys know. You guys know that I'm M. Night Shyamalan.
And we
right?
should also talk about he's planting the seed. I mean, we're going to spoil Unbreakable.
Yeah.
Just FYI, everyone
Yeah.
listening to Unbreakable podcast right now. He is planting the seeds, I think, in Elijah's first meeting with, what is Bruce Willis's character? David Dunn.
David Dunn.
I know all these characters right off the top of my head.
Where he says,
Some of
like,
my best friends.
you know, there was a fire in a hotel and like 1 million billion people died.
Yeah.
And then there was, what was the other accident? Like
There was the hotel fire. There was the
Didn't
plane
the building
crash.
plane
blow
crash.
Oh, maybe
That was the
that's-
hotel fire.
Oh, okay.
was
That's the
yeah,
hotel
yeah.
fire,
There's
yeah,
a
and
hotel
then
fire.
there's a
There's a
plane
plane
crash.
Yeah.
And 800 gazillion people died.
Yeah.
And then there was a train crash and you sort like so
I
he's-
waited for the news after all these accidents for one very specific set of words.
Right.
Yeah.
How do you know he'd
There's
be
been
in
one
Philly?
survivor, and he's miraculously on high.
He's just
I'll tell
looking
you
at
why.
Philly.
That's
Someone
the
from
other-
Philadelphia.
yeah.
We're all
Yeah, come on.
Unbreakable.
If someone's gonna be fucking Unbreakable, they're gonna be from Philly, right?
Well, at the reveal at the end, I mean, not to jump ahead too much, but I just want to say, weren't there news clippings from like
There are.
disasters all
Yes.
over the
There are
world?
news
Yes.
clippings from everywhere, but
It's like,
I
come
think you're
on.
not supposed to think that he's responsible for everything.
He was paying
It's
attention to
more
those.
like
Oh, okay.
He's the
He
Philly
started.
wing
I
of
see.
the Disaster Makers Corporation.
yeah, he's not.
Yeah.
It is very Spectre. It's
Yeah.
like crisis in Malaysia. Ooh, dictator assassinated in Myanmar.
I
Like,
am the architect of all of your natural disasters. So in the scene in the office where he's explaining all this to him,
Mhm.
behind him is a big like Egyptian tablet.
yeah.
Of like hieroglyphs, and then like paintings of like the Virgin Mary, like all these different artifacts from like history. And I was like, oh, that's kind of clever. It's like this is the through line in history of like how we tell stories and myth and how these things.
Well, he
and we,
says that.
well, okay,
out
and then he
loud.
said it. I forgot that he had the line of
I'm
dialogue.
so smart. Look at me looking at the
That's the
background,
thing.
and I'm really
It
picking
was
up on
so
the
annoying
subtext.
to
Oh wait,
me.
oh there it is.
Because I forgot he had the line
M.
dialogue,
Night
and I
comes
was
in,
like,
he's like,
yeah, I was like, nice directing, M. Night. And then he felt the need to literally name off everything on the wall, and it was like, just fucking trust yourself
he's
a little
not a
more.
subtle writer.
And I don't need him to be. That moment just drove me a little
No, I
crazy
agree
because
with
it's
you.
like, you're doing the work. You don't have to give us the answers afterwards.
Okay. But then there's the bench pressing scene.
Right, which I love.
It's a good scene. It's again really tense. Would you agree, Matt? Like we were saying about the train scene. Like it's just tense because you're like, what the? You know, it's so foreboding and like oppressively dark.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you just feel the movie clenching.
Yeah,
all the
yeah.
It's a
time.
clenched movie.
and you feel the like that.
You feel the weight of
You
it.
feel the weight of
I was
it.
gonna say, because like it's not like Bruce Willis is just like balancing these on the end of his pinky. Like it's hard, but he can do it, and you get the sense of
Yeah,
like
he's still
something
squeezing.
right. You get the sense of something like building up that maybe like this, like it's like the start of an
love it.
evolution. Like
What's also, I love that it's not just like, oh, he can suddenly lift up anything. It's like Elijah Kelly was the star of Hairspray and The Wiz Live. Elijah Price says to him, aka Mr. Glass, when he goes to the stadium with him and he is able to identify the guy as a gun. And he's like, have you ever tried developing this ability? And he's like, developing an ability? What the fuck are you talking about?
Sure, right.
And the weightlifting sequence is sort of like, oh, maybe there isn't a cap on how strong he can be, but he still would have to build it up. Not like he'd have to build up muscle,
Right,
but
he
has
needs
to
a
like,
training montage.
right, he can't literally just pick up a building right now. He needs to like
Matt, you're talking
go
about
grab
Yeah,
it.
that's exactly.
You guys, again,
Well, actually, I found this more satisfying
Take it to
than
the limit.
I thought about the Spider-Man origin.
Yes.
I have powers scene.
Yeah.
And this is much more fulfilling watching someone go through the
Right.
slow process
Yes.
of learning.
but also
But
what you said.
we should also say this is an origin movie before there had been a lot of those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, we're not quite as tired, at least in 2000, of seeing this play out where we're like, we get it, he has powers, let's get to the new thing.
I'm
Come
actually
on.
thinking, had there been any origin stories? Because Batman '89, already Batman. Superman
sort
kind of already.
They do a major
Yeah,
flashback
there's like
to
a
his childhood.
brief, like he
That's
lifts
it.
up the car when he's a baby.
Yeah.
Well, there's no learning power. He's like, I can already run in high school. I know
Right.
that I'm Superman.
Right, and X-Men has like, the Singer movie has like a brief like Rogue origin.
Yeah, Rogue
clip,
is the
but
closest
that's
thing to
it.
an origin in the film.
everyone
but
else
it's
has
not.
already
But I thought
got their
Rogue
powers.
knows that if she touches people, she's just on the road because.
No, but
No,
there's
a
a
scene with her kissing
flashback
the
to her
boy.
kissing
Remember,
the boy.
that's the sort of first
Oh.
thing where she's kissing a boy and then he sucks.
so sad.
He sucks. She sucks the life out of him.
And but he sucks too.
He
He
does
also
suck.
sucks.
He's
That guy's a
he's
fucking
an
basic
idiot.
bitch. That guy's a basic bitch. As you said, you actually feel the weight in this scene.
I mean,
And
that's
this was
what it
another thing. Oh, Matt said that. Both of you said. Both
We
of you were
were
very
in
smart.
both
agreement.
said.
Well, say he touched on it, and then I M. Night
we-
Shyamalan'd it, and I was
Sure.
like, I'm just going to say this out
I'm
loud.
going to tell you what's going on in the background.
There is weight in the weight scene.
Wait in the wait scene.
I, as an 11-year-old, and this movie was a breakthrough for me in a number of ways, because this is also like a quote-unquote adult movie about like still little boy stuff I was interested in. It's like, oh, it's a superhero movie done like a serious drama. So I was like, I feel like an adult watching this. I do remember distinctly, and it stuck out to me even this time, like, oh, this doesn't feel like a movie scene. This feels like real life, and that like these clearly aren't dummy weights. I'm not saying they were making him
No,
lift
yeah,
an
I get-
actual
yeah.
500 pounds.
But he's lifting something.
His face turns totally red while he's doing it. There's like a big vein popping out of his forehead. Like he's like really, you feel the pressure of it. Bruce Willis is like giving it. And this movie felt like very, one could argue, I wouldn't, but it seems like you guys lie on this, side of the Rio Grande line a couple times in this film.
Go on.
A little too concerned with process.
Yeah.
With
Yeah,
slowly delving
right.
into every moment. But I'm a sort of detail-obsessed guy, and as a kid, I was like, yeah, I just want to watch them put on 10 pounds at a time. Like, I like all of that.
I don't think that's the slow part for me. What
Not
starts
this scene
bothering
specifically.
me
I'm
after
saying
the
that
weight scene
principle. Yeah.
is when he's like, I've never been sick, or
Right.
I was.
The slow
You
build
know,
of the revelation.
So
yeah.
the whole thing is, was he injured in a car crash that
Right.
caused him to not be a professional football player?
Right, because that's what the kid tells Elijah that. He's like, well, he was in a car crash. Like,
Elijah's like,
yeah.
that's strike one.
Right. And
Not
well,
looking
we
good,
know
Dave.
that he faked it back then, and
Right.
he knows that he faked it back then. So,
Right.
hey, you
I know.
are a superhero, dude.
Get on
And
with
you
it.
know it.
And this is the thing.
Just
Shyamalan,
get over it.
Shyamalan is trying, I guess, to sell us on the idea that he's somehow repressed all of this, right? Like
Yes.
that he's somehow
Right.
just kind of like ignored the fact that he's always sick. He's always sick.
Yeah.
No, that he's never been sick. That he pretended to hurt himself to fall in love with his wife, I
Yeah.
guess, or what? Like
That's
'cause
how
she
you
didn't
fall in
like
love.
football.
Yeah.
And I guess that's it. And then there's the water thing comes in like
the thing is
really
a child
late.
that comes in late. Yeah.
Two
And
things about the
weird.
water thing. One, Why does this happen again in Signs?
I know.
Two successive movies. M. Night hates water.
Shyamalan really has a problem with
But
water.
I'll tell you what. From Philadelphia, in Philly, most people say water. Now,
Water.
This
Water.
does
Right,
not happen in Unbreakable.
Very
But I wonder
Was
if
gonna
M. Night
ask.
Shyamalan hates water,
Water.
because he says water and everyone in Philly says water, and he's like, "Fuck you,
So
Philly.
it's a meta commentary.
Stop saying water.
Yeah,
it's
and no
water.
one
you
needs any
assholes. There's a
scrapple
movie
in
all
this
about
movie.
water.
Matt,
Yeah,
tell,
like,
him, Matt, tell him how you guys asked for Italian ice.
Water ice. Water ice. I'm
Water
sorry.
ice.
Water ice.
Water ice.
I'm not Philly enough. I will
You know,
say.
Well, I was gonna say
There are no hoagies in this movie. There's no scrapple. There's no Eagles.
Yeah, but
Come
he
on.
loves these city
Patterginos.
streets.
There's
You
no
can
bagels.
tell. Yeah, I mean, Philadelphia is like a character in this film. You know, I do like when I see a filmmaker who clearly like is attached to their home. There's like a certain affection you can see with just how they shoot like a basic street corner. Like I do watch this movie,
But
and
he's not going to like different parts of Philly. He's going to kind of rich person Philly. I mean, I guess there's some in the neighborhood that they're.
I'm not saying he
like,
makes
middle-
Philadelphia look great, but I do see like a familiarity there where it's like this guy knows Philadelphia. He's shooting Philadelphia like he knows these streets.
He knows some of the streets in Philly. I just think it's a little weird that the music in this movie ends up having like a beat.
Yeah,
to it,
I
like,
hate
as
that.
if it's more street or
Mhm.
something. That starts getting offensive to me and like a misunderstanding
They
of
use
Philadelphia.
it in the very opening, like the opening credits. They use like the beat,
There should have been a
and then
rap
it
over
drops
this.
out. There should have been God. Oh God! Imagine if Bruno. Remember, Bruce Willis did a couple albums as Return of Bruno, where he was playing that harmonica. He could have done like a sort of like scat over
just waiting this out.
the Unbreakable theme. On Bruno,
Who would have done the Unbreakable rap in 2000?
Someone from the Wu-Tang Clan, because they
Cisco.
fucking love superheroes.
Cisco.
Like, you know, the RZA or something. Or
Cisco
Yeah.
would have.
Ghostface Killer.
Cisco would have done was it would be
Cisco.
called the Glass song. Let
Anyway.
me break
All right.
that glass. Negative 10 points. Least funny joke of all
the
time.
worst. Joke.
I'm gonna have to actually cut that out.
No, keep it in, but dock me 10 comedy points.
So, wait. Well, so then there's this scene where we were talking about, like, where Elijah thinks that David, like, has ESP or whatever and can, like, sense that there's a gun. He chases after
yeah.
this.
He's
He
got Spidey
walks
sense.
after. It's the slowest chase scene that then ensues. You know, David's like,
I love it.
I don't know.
Doesn't
I
even
thought
get him.
He doesn't even get him. David's just like, I thought that guy might have had a gun, and the guy walks away. You know,
Yeah.
David does security at what's the stadium?
Franklin Field.
Franklin Field,
At
which is like the
UPenn.
UPenn.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
It's
Good
the
stadium?
oldest football field in America, I think.
Really?
Yeah.
And that's cool. That's a cool, like, location. Like, I like those scenes.
Yeah, well, like you guys were saying, I think 2 episodes ago, he just has a knack for locations. The
Yeah,
man
he's got good
knows where to
sense
set
of
his
space.
movies.
And I even like when Elijah goes into his car before he sees the guy walk out and chases him. The car's all padded like leather, which is like, oh, okay, practical concern, of course. Like he's got this vintage car and it's full of like padded, like it looks like a insane asylum because it like, okay, if it crashes, he's got to, you know, he's
yeah,
gotta be
right. He's
insulated
got
at
this
all
crazy.
times.
Yeah.
But it also does look like a great supervillain like mobile. Like it's like
It does. Yeah.
Mr. Glass's pillow car. You know?
But
You-
wait,
you
I
can
would
see
have bought that.
the Kenner, like, yeah, pillow car.
but I wanted this chase scene. It's the best scene in the movie. I mean, maybe no, it's a good
That's
scene.
the best scene
No,
in the
but
movie.
it's a
I
good
don't-
scene.
It's a good scene. It's a good scene.
The thing where he walks after a guy and
Yeah.
you're still like digging your fucking hands into it because they do a good job selling that Samuel L. Jackson can't fall down.
Yep.
Like before he falls down, you're already like, this guy can't fall down. That's
Yeah,
not
he fucking
good.
broke bones in the womb, motherfucker.
And he's like walking after this guy, and yeah, he chases him down some subway stairs. He falls, his glass cane shatters.
Do we see Mr. Glass on the floor after that?
Yeah, we
fall?
see him kind of upside down
Oh.
almost because he gets
Yeah.
that.
He should have
glimpse.
been like
I know.
contorted all
Yeah.
around, like
What-
knotted up. And
Jackson-
broken.
Jackson-
was him literally in knots.
Jackson, who I will say has a very unique like scream,
Yeah.
you know, and he has the scream in Revenge of the Sith, and
Yes.
you know, like that.
I love
Ah! He does that scream. That sells. You know, that's him selling the bones, I think. And of course he does catch a glimpse. This guy had the gun that Bruce Willis. Like that's the final,
And then Bruce Willis goes like 50% chance most guns will either silver
which
or
is
black.
nonsensical. Come on, Bruce. You know, come on, David.
This does feel like another moment where he's like explaining the hieroglyphs behind the head, where it's like, oh, Mr. Glass falls over, and then his glass cane falls over, and you hear the bones crack, and then you see the glass shatter.
He's made of glass.
Oh, they're the same. He and the cane are one. They are but one, David.
Yeah. Woo.
Unbreakable.
But then he becomes a superhero at some point.
Right. Then what happens?
I was gonna say,
Right, that's the thing. So there's this stretch in the
it sort of sets up all the bits.
the third of 4 acts,
Yeah,
basically,
yeah.
is him just hanging out with his family, right? Because Mr. Glass goes into rehab,
Right.
and meets his wife. Whoa! Did he plan it?
Yeah, who
No.
is like his wife's like a physical therapist.
Yeah, how
right,
perfect.
right. And that's where he puts together in like a somewhat leading dialogue scene. Yeah. Oh, he faked the football accident injury thing. Well,
Yeah.
I should put that together because he realizes she hates football.
Mhm.
That's when the movie comes to a halt. I mean, I guess I'm kind of into Robin Wright.
She's
and,
good.
Love it.
and
She's
and
good.
Bruce going on
Love
a
it.
date. That's cute.
And this isn't her
It's
really.
a first date. They have to start over.
Oh my
again.
God.
The
it's
date
so
scene's
beautiful.
okay, although it really reminded me of the Sixth Sense date scene where
Yes.
he's a ghost.
It's a very similar plot line.
Yeah, it
really.
Well, also it's dimly lit. It's golden in the
mhm.
background. It looks exactly the same. She
I
might be
know.
wearing red. I don't know.
You know, we said last week that like Sixth Sense doesn't really do right by Olivia Williams because by the nature of the twist, she doesn't get
She
to have
can't
scenes where
interact
she
with
interacts
anyone.
with people.
Yeah.
Yeah, this movie feels like a mea culpa, but to a different
a
actress.
little bit. Yeah.
He's like, I'm gonna make another movie about a marriage on the rocks, but this time the woman has agency because she's not speaking to somebody.
If you remember, this is what Robin Wright was kind of not doing much.
No,
You know, she had just kind of stopped doing big stuff. Like, you know, she'd had her Forrest Gump, like, sort of, you know, and then, like,
that was 5 years earlier.
yeah, I mean,
And she was sort of out of it. She
Was
did
she
what?
having
Isn't
kids?
she lovely? What was that
she had
movie
kids.
called?
Yeah, she's in She's So Lovely.
She's So
in
Lovely.
Hurly Burly and Message in a Bottle, but, like, you know.
Yeah, but she was mostly,
Yeah,
I think,
no.
raising family.
Yeah, this was her family moment.
This
Yeah.
is before I think she, you know, anyway, we're not going to speculate.
Post
like,
divorce,
Robin
she
Wright's-
started working a lot.
That whole
Yeah.
stretch of the movie is when it gets like even more emotional because it's about the family. That's the gun. The kid pulls
Yeah.
the gun scene out.
I hate that
And
scene.
I hate
that
that
scene's
scene,
the
too.
worst scene,
I
I
like
would
that
say.
scene.
You like that scene? To me, that
Yeah,
scene is
I like
like
that scene a lot.
is him overplaying his hand after like considering the tone and pace
Well,
of the
I just
movie.
think this is the moment when the movie's supposed to get fun. Like, oh wait, he is a superhero. Da, 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 da.
right.
And no, it's gonna get even more dirgical, and it's
That's the thing. I never
yeah,
wanted
it's
this movie
very
to get fun. I
dirge-like.
wanted to get more and more sad. Every
Well-
scene I wanted to get sadder and
Well,
sadder.
I mean, because what I like about I do like it when it gets quote unquote fun, which is when he's like, all right, I'm going to put on this poncho.
Yeah.
I'm going to go just rub up against people in a
just
train
touch
station.
strangers.
that scene
he's the groper.
is disturbing.
The grope.
It is.
It's not just
where
like-
he's seeing everyone's like dark secrets.
People are getting raped and people are getting murdered.
yeah.
There's
like-
the racial slur. There's the one where
Yeah.
they break a bottle over a woman's head and they go back to Africa.
Yeah. It's
Ooh.
it's a little on the nose, but it's a
Yeah,
cool
but
conception
just-
of a character who like, you know, almost like a Christ-like way, like feels all of our sins and our pain.
His
and, like,
superpower is kind of empathy. Yeah. And absorbing our sins. I also
And there's water.
that's
Water.
There's water.
Wooder.
That scene is when they bring back the fucking techno beat, which drives me
Yeah.
crazy because I love the score so much. The opening credits.
Remember, The Matrix has just come out. You know, the
know.
electronic music. Let's get it in the,
Mr.
in the
Poncho
score.
here.
Yeah,
but the rest of the score is so fucking good. You
it
don't
is.
need
It's
that.
a great score.
James, come on.
But and
James
also,
Nudie
I mean,
House.
so that's at 30th Street Station or whatever.
Yes, it
yeah.
is.
I mean, that's a pretty cool.
It's a great
like,
location.
Great location.
and it's really he does a good job framing him there. I think I like that. That's the best. Is what I was.
I'm not
gonna
sure
say.
what
Yeah.
time of day it is because it's always
It's the magic hour.
movie always looks like that.
It's the opposite of the
creepy
magic
shadow
hour. Yeah.
Daytime.
He took the night part of his name very literally, and he was like, okay, people like M. Night movies. These all have to look, even in the afternoon. There's the
And
one
night in the
scene.
afternoon.
There's the one scene where David walks by his son, and the son's playing football, and he wants his dad
Yeah,
to come
oh,
play
yeah.
football with him. And
That's
it's-
my favorite scene of the movie, maybe, because that's
It's really
actual
nice.
emotion.
I know.
That's
And
I'm
it's cool how
not
it's
a football
shot in like
player.
extreme distance. Like you,
That's what I'm
you know,
talking about,
David's
the
like this
foreground
dot.
fucking
yeah.
background thing.
Yeah, and here's like a big cool dude who's
Right.
playing with the kids, and he's like
And it's
active
the guy
and-
that the lady talked about on the train.
Right.
Ah, twist.
Yeah, I know that is so obnoxious.
But that's the same as the
Everything's connected.
fucking hospital sequence where you
Right.
don't realize he's important
it's
until
less
they
obnoxious.
crack focus.
I would
That's
say.
like
yes, it is less
reasonable stakes, you know.
Yeah,
right.
When the movie goes and like everyone's getting murdered, fucked, and like and but here's I just missed out on my football career. I think that's more emotional for me.
Right, and I'm not really like
Or
going
like
to
I'm
be
gonna
able
lose my family.
I'm
My
like-
son pulls a gun on me.
Right,
You know?
I'm failing to impress my kid.
You know what I really
Yeah.
like? I like that. You know what I really like in the gun scene? I don't know if it's a perfect scene, but it works for me. The line I really like in the gun scene is when Bruce Willis is trying to talk him down, and he goes like, you know, and I feel like we were just starting to kind of become friends.
Yeah, that's sure.
He's so
So
divorced
don't
from
shoot
his
me,
family.
son.
Right. He goes, and friends don't shoot each other, right?
Yeah.
And she goes, no, friends don't shoot, which I think is funny. But I like the use of the word friend. that like he's so aware that he's so emotionally distant that the key to
So
having a relationship
emotionally
with his
distant.
son is to be a friend to him. Like it's not even like a dad. He wants to like feel like his kid's also
What
a fucking
is his
weirdo.
setup? So he was living in New York, but
Yeah,
he
he's,
was a
like, looking
security
for a
guard.
job.
At
No, he was
Franklin
at a
Field?
job interview to try to get a job in New York, and then he would move there.
Maybe at like Madison Square Garden.
Whoa.
That's the idea, I
Yeah,
think.
you know, but
No job in New York is a step up from a job in Philly. I'm here to tell you.
Wow,
Sorry,
patches.
thrown down.
What if it's working at a water purifying station?
Whoa, water.
Yeah.
Better not fall in.
Hoagie plant.
So okay, so then the denouement of this movie, much like The Sixth Sense, this film has one big action sequence, and it is not big at all. It's like a very small set piece.
But it's exciting.
Yeah, I mean, again, I remember at least in the theater, is unbearably tense. Like, he follows this guy who has like chained a family to their radiators.
And M. Night
basically.
goes there. I mean, he makes
He's a
it so
janitor
unsettling.
who loves family.
Yeah, right. There's that creepy scene where he is at the door. You
Yeah.
see him at the door, being like, "Can I come in?" Yeah.
And M. Night's
We
kind of
just
doing
did
the
that
color
in
thing
sync.
here.
That was extra creepy.
Yeah,
It was very
good job,
creepy,
guys. M. Night's doing the color thing here, where like the film is so desaturated that like Sam Jackson's
Yes, it
purples
is.
stick out, but purple's like a darker, deeper base color. You know,
You have orange jumpsuit guy.
that's what I was gonna say.
Orange jumpsuit
So even when
villain
he goes
man.
to the flashback and the guy isn't, when he touches him and he sees the thing, the guy isn't wearing the jumpsuit, but he's got an orange shirt, and like the rest of the image is like black and white, and you see the orange. So it's like, okay, if you see a glimpse of orange in the background, you're gonna get
No
scared. 'cause
wonder
this
I
guy's
never
fucking
wanted to
creepy.
wear colors as a kid. I saw Unbreakable, and I'm like, only the cool people
must
wear
must
blacks and
desaturate.
darks.
True story. Orange was my favorite color until I saw this movie. I used to wear all
You're
orange.
such a weird kid.
I'm a weird fucking kid.
What a weirdo.
Orange
What
will
are we-
change you.
Orange changed me. They used to call me Mr. Orange.
So he follows
Because the
this,
kids, David.
he follows this janitor to this house.
Not even a Sam Jack impression.
where
This is
he's-
old man. Yeah.
Yeah, or he's tied up this whole family. It's
Yeah.
awful, and he frees the family.
But you know, good on you, M. Night, for making it feel dramatic. Like there's like a real stake here. This isn't
Yeah.
like him like stopping a burglary.
right, because it's true. Like every Superman movie, he's like, "Great, I'm Superman," and then there's like a bank robber, and he goes and he busts
Right,
up the
I'll
bank
punch
robber.
the car,
Yeah.
and
It's
solve
always
that one.
it's always the same, right? The bank robber's like, "I'll shoot you with the gun. That's my idea." And
Right.
it doesn't work, and he's like, "What?"
I
You know?
like that the thing he's stopping is like the actual like real evils in the world. Like guys who will break into a house and chain a teenage girl to like a wall. That's these are the most unspeakable
fucked
like
up.
evil fucking. We all agree we're all anti-chaining a teenage girl.
Just don't do it,
Definitely,
guys.
100%.
Definitely,
Dumb.
no way.
And if any of our listeners are doing that, let's say it formally, cut it out.
Yeah,
And also
Stop
don't rate us on iTunes because we don't like Sith Lords. We don't like
Orange
ghosts that
jumpsuit
don't know that they're
villains.
ghosts or orange jumpsuit villains. Those are three big no-nos.
But so then there's this sequence. Yeah, the sequence basically amounts to him being pushed into a swimming pool.
Cool shot, the overhead of him falling into the tarp as the tarp.
Yeah, and realizing that
Absorbing.
right. Yeah, and then so he
It's like his poncho is becoming one with the tarp.
yeah,
Have we talked enough about the poncho?
it's cool.
So he's got a poncho that's his work issue. It says security at the back of it.
Right, and
which-
security's almost like his hero name.
exactly,
Yeah.
which is cool.
Yeah.
And then he makes it like his uniform. Like when he goes to the fucking train station, it's his uniform. And then at this final sequence, it's like
It's a little obvious, like superheroes wear capes. What's a real cape? Oh, a poncho. Cool.
But I also like that it just makes him look like a shadow. You know, that's like
Sure,
the whole thing. He looks sort of like a Dementor from like Harry Potter. Like he's like, and he's wearing a baseball cap over his eyes too. So he's just like all you see.
It's
is
like
that.
a real version of like a secret identity mask type.
Yeah.
Yeah.
hero.
Right.
Sure, like Matt said, like a caped hero.
Yeah.
It's like a very low key. This movie's low key.
Yeah.
Low key. Not
No
Great
Loki.
Avengers
though. Where is
villain.
Loki? in
Where's
this
Loki?
movie?
He's on the
Should have been
sidelines.
after the credits. Twist. Loki.
Loki's
is
sitting on a
Unbreakable
throne.
2.
If this movie was like a huge hit, do you think you would have seen like a bunch of kids that Halloween just wearing a poncho, and their parents were like, "Thank God, this is the cheapest costume ever."
Was this movie not a hit?
It was an okay.
Well, let's
talk about
the end of the
Okay.
film. Then I think we need to talk about the reception a lot.
Yeah. So, he gets pushed in, but then the kids pull him out of the water.
He's saved, which is nice.
Yeah. So I mean,
The
but
kids
is
he
it-
What is
just
that supposed to
saving.
mean?
I don't know. It's like water's his weakness, but is that just literally like he can't swim? Is that how water's
Well,
his
he's
weakness?
drinking it, and it's kind of like suffocating.
Right.
Well, I guess it would probably hurt no matter who you are.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's an odd thing to be a weakness.
Agreed. But
And,
Everyone is impervious to. No one is impervious to drowning.
But
That is
maybe if it didn't
everyone's
hurt him, he
weakness.
could like rip the tarp out pretty easily because he's strong.
right. It incapacitates his powers.
As Mr. Glass
And then-
phrases it, he says, "We both have the same weakness. It's water. When we sip too much of it, we choke. it fills up our lungs too fast.
Why is Mr. Glass's problem with water?
Because heroes and weaknesses have the same thing.
I don't.
You know what his other problem
We don't
is?
get to see him drink
Bones.
Yeah, he's got some problems.
He's got a couple weaknesses. Bones.
Stairs.
But
anything
wait,
sharp.
I'm fine.
born.
Oh yeah, and then he goes back and he takes this guy.
Music
down.
swells. He puts the
guy,
guy
like-
in a sleeper hold.
Right. The guy
The
like
guy's-
tries to.
Do you
like,
think he killed him?
I don't know. No, 'cause isn't there a news story about him getting arrested?
Yeah, I think he incapacitates him.
Because there is some news story over the radio, and like Spencer T. Clark looks at David Dunn,
It's the newspaper.
and he like nods
Yeah.
at him over the news.
I guess I was just
whatever.
thinking, like, did David call the police after he put him in a chokehold? Because he does the woman who's on the radiator.
Yeah.
She
Right.
falls over. So
Maybe-
she's not going to call the police. The
Maybe he
kids
calls
are
the
awake.
police.
But do you leave two kids who are just chained up by this man in an orange jumpsuit with the orange jumpsuit man? How?
No, he stayed with them. He watched them dragon tails.
'Cause he
and then
wasn't
once
around
the police
when the
came.
police
He
came.
bounced.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Because the mother is also deceased.
The
as well as
mother's dead. The
father.
father's dead. It's
Yeah.
3 kids. The oldest one he seems to have been abusing sexually, and the other 2.
Oh, the woman and the radiator
He's an older woman.
Oh, it's
I
a
also
daughter.
used to think
Yeah,
it was
older.
the mother, but I realized this time in the newspaper
Oh,
headline
well,
it
that
says
changes everything.
mother and father found dead, 3 children alive, tortured in the house.
So
He
so he
spins
has
the
this
newspaper
hero
around.
moment.
Yeah, he makes the dents in the wall. The music swells. I like that moment a lot because it's like he's doing it. He's fucking doing it. He's fucking
Something's
Mr.
happening in
Poncho.
this movie.
It's a miracle.
and then he goes to meet Mr. Glass at his gallery opening.
Yeah.
And Mr. Glass is like,
Well, son now knows that everyone's admitting that he's
Yeah.
a superhero.
Oh, we're skipping over what
his
is
mom talks.
literally my favorite moment in the film.
To, what?
He comes home after saving those children,
Sure.
Breakfast.
and Robin Wright Penn is sleeping,
Mhm.
and he picks her up from the bed, and James Newton Howard plays a very sort of sprightly version of his theme, just plucking the pianos, going dun, 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 dun. And he carries his wife back up to his bed for the first time. They're going to sleep in the same bed together.
Sure.
She lies in the bed next to him, and she goes, "What's wrong?" And he goes, "I had a bad dream," and they cuddle. It's nice because I like love, David.
Yeah.
It's a nice moment.
It's nice.
I like that the hero theme plays over him carrying his wife because it's like this is the real heroic thing is restructuring his priorities and becoming a family man.
The real heroic thing was saving.
Yeah,
three
you're right.
kids
When he
was
took
from
out the
a
jumpsuit.
rapist.
That was good.
Yeah,
That
yeah,
was really
yeah.
good.
That guy was no good.
That guy was no
He
good.
went into people's houses and killed them.
I want to restate this. I don't like that guy at all.
He is the worst person.
The interesting thing about the movie is that he was trying to cuddle the guy in the orange jumpsuit also.
Yeah, I had a bad dream.
But it was an aggressive cuddle, so he
That guy's
learned
like,
a lot.
Yeah, right.
Luckily, Audrey didn't have
Right.
to suffer the same
Right.
fate.
You take your first shot at something, maybe it
Learn
doesn't
how to
work out, you
cuddle.
learn from your
Yeah.
mistakes.
He also, the first time he tried to cuddle Audrey, he accidentally put her in a sleeper hold. And he
Yes.
was like, sorry, force of habit. I've been doing this all night.
But-
I'm the sleeper hold guy now.
But so then he goes to Elijah, has like a comic book gallery show.
This is the big.
It's the opening of a
he
new
talks
show.
to his mom, who's played by Charlene Woodard.
Good performance.
Yeah, good actress.
Yeah.
And she has this whole, I mean, these monologues sometimes are just sort of like, now it feels a little goofy where she's like, there are villains who don't use strength, they use their intelligence.
Yeah, 2 kinds.
What are you
There's-
trying to say, M. Night Shyamalan?
And then Elijah is back in his evil like lair with computers
Love
and pipe
it.
bombs. And,
Love it!
news clippings on the wall, like Ben said, of every natural disaster that ever happened.
And his getup looks more super villainy. Like his outfit
Yeah.
is so like yeah.
And we get to see him like conducting evildoer business.
Right.
Well, he shakes his
Flashbacks.
hand. He goes, "I think this is where we part ways. Let's shake hands." He shakes hands, and then there's the immediate flashback to all the bad things he's done, which is
A terrible old man just divulging
Yeah.
information about
working in a
the.
building for 40 years. You learn a lot of secrets.
Yeah, well, like what?
Like if someone lit this hotel on fire, everyone would die.
Yeah.
But you wouldn't do that, would you? Promise me.
Yeah. A lot of things where he walks away from a lot of people dying.
Yeah, he set a hotel on fire. He blew up a plane or something. He sabotaged a
Yeah,
plane.
the plane blows up and everyone's freaking out behind him, and he's just sitting there.
just
I'm just
walks
waiting
away.
for someone to be like,
Yeah.
"Sir, do you know what's happening? I'm made of glass. I can't get up."
But also, he didn't want to watch the explosion. Everyone else is facing in the same direction. He's got his back to him.
Yeah.
I know how it
That's
looks.
the Mr. Glass version of walking away from
Yeah,
the
from the
explosion. Like a
explosion,
badass.
yeah. And then Sam Jack gives a great monologue. He goes, "Now that you know who you
Yeah,
are,
he does.
I know
It's
what
a good
I
monologue.
am.
Yeah.
Do you know what it's like to not know your places in the world?"
Sure. He's like, I'm
Terrifying.
a villain
Yeah.
now. Right.
Right. I think I maybe know this entire speech by heart, but the big crux of it is he says, and usually the hero, how you can always tell who the villain is. He's the exact opposite of the hero, and usually they're friends like you and me. I should have known, David. I should have known all along. Do you know how? Because of the kids, David. The kids. They called me Mr. Glass.
It's like he's talking to me.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then the
yeah.
I like how pulpy the sort of like and
You do?
I do.
The end
Chiron
titles?
sort of stuff.
I
yeah.
don't like those.
I like it. I like how pulpy they are.
Because I was about to say, I actually like the ending of the movie a lot. I like how the score is swelling. I like Bruce. David is just like, oh my god,
Jesus fucking Christ!
you're a maniac.
And he full on cries at that moment.
Do you like when it freezes and says?
That's
like,
what we're
I
saying.
do.
Oh,
I like
I don't like
Okay.
that.
I like it. I do. I know it's. I
It says like
David went on to be a great man.
Yeah.
yeah.
Elijah was convicted of terrorism,
Put him in
sent to
jail.
an institution for the insane
Yeah.
or whatever.
David gave his orgasm a wife. Jesus Christ!
orgasm
Griffin.
a wife.
Jesus Christ, Griffin.
He named his orgasm a wife.
Yeah, he did marry an orgasm after
Mrs.
this, so.
Orgasm.
And
It would
yeah,
have been
so
such a
it would've been a-
mediocre joke if
No,
I
it
had
would
landed
have been a home run.
here's
Don't
why
worry.
It would have been right.
I do
yeah.
like the Chirons because it is almost like deflating the idea that this is a superhero movie where it's
Yeah.
like, oh, that crazy person who did all that stuff went to jail.
That's what I like. And it's
right
like-
away.
And that's the moment where I'm like, oh, thank God he didn't make a sequel because as we said, he couldn't fight Mr. Glass. Like he just punched him once and the guy is down. So I like it being like,
Hammerhand, man.
what's the Hammerhand? What's the resolution of this? The resolution is the guy just went to an insane asylum because he's a crazy lunatic. David kept on being a good guy. Gave his wife an
so strange.
orgasm.
Earlier, my mind wandered for a second to that scene. We need. I just want to talk about Mr. Glass for 1 second.
No,
where
sure.
he's in
Let's talk
the
about it for
comic
5 seconds.
book store,
Love it.
and
That's a
in
great scene
wheelchair.
where he's defiantly like
What the
twisting
fuck
his
is, like,
wheelchair.
What is the? What
I
do you
think
think
it's
the
like
point of that
he is emotionally bottomed out because he feels like I just
lost?
blew up my third major thing.
Terrorists can be sad too,
And he thought David was the one, but like he's
but we
not.
don't know that. We don't know.
No, he says in the first scene, he's like, I've waited a long time. I've had a lot of
That's true.
disappointments. And he keeps on saying, like, first strike, second strike. He's like, I have to be careful. We've gotten
Right.
close before. And it's clear that, like, David is the closest he's ever come. The furthest a guy's come without disappointing him. So I think at that point, he's like, fuck, it's not going to
just-
happen. I have no purpose in
It's
this
just
world.
a great scene. I
It's
just love the
hilarious.
face he's making. He's making
Yeah.
this like poopy baby face. He's
Yeah.
in his wheelchair. He's got like a leg, broken leg
I'm
sticking
trying to
out.
think of what comedy bit that reminds me of, where like someone's out of control in a wheelchair, just knocking things over.
Whoever, I don't know who's playing
Sacha
the
Baron
poor
Cohen or
comic
something.
book. Yeah.
The guy's good.
He's good. The guy who's playing like the comic book clerk. He's like, can you just like
Better not be jerking off to
stop
those
doing
Japanese
this?
anime.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, comics.
But then he's like, oh, I'm sorry, you're in a
Manga.
wheelchair. And then
He doesn't say manga. That's what jumped out at me is he doesn't say manga. He says, like, Japanese anime comics. He goes the long way. He doesn't take the shortcut. Let's also note, a lot of great merchandise on the wall at this comic book shop. It's a good merchandise spotlight.
There's a lot. I mean, I love all the covers, the comic book covers
Yeah.
in this movie, and
Yeah.
just the detail. I mean, I guess some of them were designed for the movie, but there's a lot of nodding to like Watchmen,
Yeah,
and nodding
yes.
to all these comic books. Actually, I was reading on IMDb. So IMDb trivia is notoriously awful,
Uh-huh.
but you must, both of you must know that according to IMDb trivia, this is a very important fact. Near the end of the movie, Samuel L. Jackson's character is sitting in his wheelchair below 3 comic book covers: Thor to the left, Daredevil to the right, and Nick Fury of S.H.I.E.L.D. Now, Nick Fury was redesigned around this time to look like Jackson, and then Jackson starred with Thor in a movie. And as of 2015, and here's the trivia, there are rumors that Daredevil may meet Fury in the same universe.
Wait a second.
That's a trivia for this movie.
Wait a second. Samuel L. Jackson plays Nick Fury?
All right.
Whoa!
What a
do wanna-
twist!
I do want to say something. Like the 2 big covers that they use as props are made up.
Yeah.
And it's weird because, and I was just thinking like, oh, well, they must have just not gotten rights to use like
Right.
a Marvel or a DC.
Yeah.
But then you
Jaguaro,
see,
they create characters. yeah.
right. And like, and it's a little goofy because, but anyway.
Jaguaro!
But then you see the Thor cover. So I was just like,
I
oh,
guess to make it more like drawing a direct
Idiosyncratic,
line
yeah.
To
to him.
control, yeah.
Yeah, like you can. It
And
looks
I guess
more like him.
yeah, and also I guess Shyamalan doesn't want to be like I'm making a Batman movie or I'm making a
Right.
Wolverine movie or whatever. Like I guess he
Yeah.
wants to avoid.
And
any
really, why
direct
is the
correct
last
connection.
frame of this movie not freeze frame turn into a comic book? Illustrated.
That's
why
the
doesn't it
shit,
go full Ang Lee?
That's the I was about to say that's the
God,
shit
I
Ang Lee
love-
went for
love
maybe
it.
3-4 years later, like not that long. After.
2003, yeah, it was 3 years later.
So
yeah.
Ang Lee, yeah, we'll talk about that.
And
movie
that,
one
that
day.
was the last time, like these 2 movies were the last 2 times that filmmakers tried to like literalize comic books as a visual idea. Like the actual layout of a comic book page into the
Yes,
movie.
Well,
Sky
Sin
High does it a
City.
little
Sin
bit.
City.
Ooh,
Oh, Sin City.
CBGB though, so good.
Oh yeah, you told me CBGB has fucking comic book motif, right?
It's fantastic. It totally fits in with the story. I highly recommend that film for anybody who hasn't seen it.
Well, good thing that director is now in jail for involuntary manslaughter.
Hell yeah. Sometimes you shouldn't play on the train tracks.
Oh, God.
They gave him
This is taking a dark, Unbreakable-esque turn.
They gave him 4 years for involuntary manslaughter and 1 year for directing CBGBs. That was the full sentencing. Okay, let's talk reception. So this movie comes out 15 months after Sixth Sense.
Does.
Sixth Sense at the time that
Comes
Unbreakable...
out in November. It's a Thanksgiving weekend movie.
Big Thanksgiving weekend movie.
Families go to see it. Everyone's happy. And then Unbreakable.
I want to point it opens number 2.
Behind How the Grinch Stole Christmas?
Behind the Grinch.
Which was
Juggernaut.
the number one movie that year. It was huge.
It was a juggernaut, and its first weekend, Unbreakable makes $30 million.
Good opening.
And it makes it $46 million over like the whole Thanksgiving week.
That's its budget.
Right.
Its budget's 75.
Jesus Christ.
I know.
M. Night spared no
I
expense.
assume Willis and
Well-
Jackson made a lot of money.
I think Willis got a full 20
But
for this
that-
one.
And then 10 went to fucking Shyamalan.
Well, that's
Yeah.
that's the thing. It speaks to just how long they probably shot this movie and how much they could control it. It's wonderful.
Yeah, I think, and you know,
Dream come true.
each of those comic book covers cost $5 million to commission.
And that train scene that got cut.
Huge.
Yeah, right. They shot all of it.
Huge.
They shot like a Super 8, you know, 18 cars going
He
over
actually
it.
flies
end
off
to
like
end.
at the end of The Matrix at the end of this movie, but that got cut.
He restaged an homage to Silver Streak where the train crashes through the train station. And he got Richard Pryor to come back and reprise his role. He wanted this film to take place in the Silver Streak-averse. And they cut all of that. The SSU.
So people liked this movie? People hated this movie?
Well, I think reactions were tempered. I mean, I don't remember it being super well liked critically. It did well. It did like 98 million, but it didn't do hugely well.
Yeah, I can tell you. Yeah, it made a total of $95 million.
Yeah.
You know, fine. And then worldwide, you know, it collected another 153. So it made like 250 worldwide.
It
Pretty
did well.
Pretty good for
the
a movie
one before this,
that looks like this. But yeah,
the
certainly
one before
come
this did
down.
300 million, and he got nominated for picture, director, screenplay, supporting actor, supporting actress, and this got a grand total of goose egg Oscar nominations. And I think people viewed it as sort of being a sophomore slump, as being a sophomore slump as a fourth film.
But I mean, talk about hype that you could never match.
Yeah,
it was a classic. Like people painted this as like a classic second album thing, right? Yeah, where it's like, you know, he's out of the gate and like, you know, how could he possibly eclipse it? And then he makes this weird, moody movie.
Yeah,
and, you know, and then I think we'll talk about Signs next week. That's Shyamalan.
Definitely shot him out of a cannon.
Commercial
shot him out of a
comeback,
cannon in a different direction.
Yeah. No, but
probably
Signs
will
is him trying to get the public back in his at his table.
Crowd pleaser.
It's a crowd pleaser. I think this movie is not meant to be a twist movie.
It has a twist.
I know.
It's framed as a twist.
I know, but
you think it was sort of guided into that?
This is, I think, the difference. I think it is a movie that has a twist rather than a quote-unquote twist movie. Because he starts to become known for twist movies. And Sixth Sense is a twist movie where you rewatch it, colors the whole experience a different way on the second time when you know the twist. The fact that the mother says the surprise ending thing at the beginning, the fact that there's a lot of telegraphing, where even if you just watch it now, you're like, yeah, this guy's clearly positioned as a villain. You know? From the way he talks about the comic book cover at the beginning of the film. Like, there's a lot of foreshadowing. And it's not that you just go like, well, he didn't trust the audience. You know, he wanted to foreshadow it. He shows such restraint with that shit in Sixth Sense. I think he was like, this movie has an ending that is unexpected. There's like a twist, but my idea isn't to make a film where the ending fucking shakes the foundations of your beliefs.
It's not a Sixth Sense style twist, but it's a twist. And it's a decent twist, actually.
It's a decent twist.
Because it does kind of complete the sort of arc of the movie where you're like, oh, right, he needs a nemesis. And like, that's cool. Like, it's a good idea. I like the twist fine.
But I do agree with what you said, Matt, that I think every scene in this movie is kind of a twist. I think it's more of a movie of like, you don't know where it's going.
It's a reveal,
It's
right?
a reveal
It's
film.
not a twist.
Exactly.
A twist
Nice
is like,
wording.
aha, whoa! And this is a movie like, interesting.
It's a reveal film.
You wouldn't go back and rewatch this necessarily to pick up on any like things you missed the first time.
Right, which is why I hadn't seen it in a decade.
Yeah, unless you're Griffin Newman and you are certifiably insane, renting a room out next to Mr. Glass. You want to do a performance review?
Yeah, fine.
We haven't talked about the performances too much. I know there are a couple supporting ones we want to talk about. Bruce Willis. I love this performance. I think it's maybe his best ever, up there with the first Die Hard. Here's what I like about it.
Maybe it's a top 5, Willis? I don't know.
Probably, but there's not too much competition.
I like Willis,
When he's
but I mean,
good,
you got
he's
Die Hard.
great.
To me, you've got Die Hard. You got
Kind of
12
have
Monkeys.
to group all the Die Hard together.
Yeah.
I think he's very underrated in Pulp Fiction. He's actually my favorite performance in Pulp Fiction.
That's literally the stupidest thing you've ever said on this
I
podcast.
am a Bruce fan.
That's crazy. You think about, just sit down and think about Pulp Fiction's actors for a second.
I remember watching it for the first time being like, why isn't anyone talking about Bruce? He's got a shaved
He's got a
head.
ball in his mouth for
Yeah.
a big chunk of it. It's
God,
true.
but he works that ball so good. I didn't mean that in a
Samuel L.
sexual
Jackson's
way. I
in
meant
that
that
movie.
Yeah, he's good.
John Travolta, Uma Thurman.
I'm not a Travolta guy. Travolta irks me. I admit he's good in that movie, but
He's
I have
incredible in that movie.
I have
All right,
Travolta
we're not talking about
roadblocks.
fucking. All right.
Okay, this is what I like. Things I like about Bruce Willis's performance in this movie. Number one, love that he shaved his head. Love that he's not wearing a stupid toupee or painting his scalp a different color.
Toupee?
A toupee.
Anyway, carry on.
Toupee. I'm calling it a toupee for short. I know what the word is.
Okay, yeah, sure.
I'm being fucking familial.
Okay.
You know?
Go on.
He's not wearing a toupee, David.
Okay.
And it's not even like he's like, well, I'm just trying to make it look like I shaved it for like aesthetic reasons. He's got enough stubble that you can see like, dude's rocking a donut. I'm just going to look like a guy.
Yeah.
I'm going to look like a guy who works a security job and doesn't have good hair, right?
All right.
I
Love
guess he has
that.
hair in Sixth Sense.
He
Yeah.
does. He has a
It's
funny,
bad.
weird sort of side parting. Yeah.
And he had done Pulp Fiction and 12 Monkeys full shave.
Yeah.
And then he was like, maybe I want to have hair again.
Sure.
And then like Armageddon, he has that like bleach
So your
job.
whole performance to him
No,
is just the hair?
That was point one. Bruce,
He's
big
bearing
thumbs
his
up
soul.
on the hair choice.
He's bearing his
scalp.
dome.
Yeah. I like a an actor with a lot of vulnerability and
to his head.
Yeah. Thing I like number two. I think Bruce Willis is a very sad performer. I think he is a sad
be.
man. I think the best Bruce Willis performances use that to their advantage, right? He's charming. He can be a quipster. But when you just have him quip, it's like, who fucking gives a shit?
I disagree. I love him quipping.
But I think
Quip,
it needs
quip.
I think it needs to have an undercurrent of like remorse and disenfranchisement.
Yeah, he's good. In
That's why John
Moonrise
McClane's
Kingdom.
good. Well, yeah, Moonrise Kingdom, he's another sad
Yeah,
man.
John McClane's a great. Yeah, I mean the first one where he's like
Yeah.
a divorced guy.
He's a
Great.
real guy, and it's like I think Bruce Willis is good at emotional men who don't know how to express their feelings.
Okay, thumbs up from you, Matt. Do you
Big
think Bruce
thumbs
is
up,
good
one
in
of his
this
best
movie?
Well, I can
performances ever,
say
not
it's
his
very
best.
realistic because I was very sad about moving from Philadelphia to New York and leaving my woman at the time. But then I went in a different direction.
Did you go to college? Was this when you
Yeah, I
moved?
went to college. So, goodbye high school girlfriend. I was in the exact same position. I'm Unbreakable, so it was the exact same.
Right, you had the car crash. You
position
faked your
as-
injury.
Yeah,
yeah.
It was,
But you're in
I was
Unbreakable?
going to play football professionally,
Yeah.
but decided to go to film school. So it was a very realistic performance.
I do like the idea that, of course, he'd be great at football. He's unbreakable.
He's,
Like,
he's an unbreakable. Have you ever heard of Unbreakables? Those people who are unbreakable? He's
that's
one
a-
of them.
That's the thing. If you get in a car crash and you're not hurt at all, does something start dawning on you and like, wait, I can both love her because I'm not going to get injured and I can play football.
Push it down, deep down.
It's psychosomatic. I think he truly believed he was injured.
Samuel L. Jackson.
Great.
I think it's great. What do you think?
He's just crackling up there. Although
Yeah.
we were talking about the scene where he's chastising the customer.
And
that
the
seems
rich
awesome.
customer.
And the final monologue is fucking good.
Yes,
stuff.
this movie could be much sillier, and it's
Yeah.
not because Samuel L. Jackson loves comic books in real life and
Yes.
turns it into poetry
Mm-hmm.
here.
But look, he is putting one single thinly sliced piece of ham on top of the dish. He knows
Yeah.
just the right amount of ham to put on it. You know?
Yeah.
He's not giving you a ham sandwich, but it's chicken cordon bleu, and you're taking a bite, and you're going, little ham in there.
Little
The
ham
purple
in here.
suit helps.
Yeah, I'll disregard that ham until later, and at the end he goes, surprise, there was ham throughout the dish. I am a villain.
Robin Wright.
Love it.
Good.
This was,
You love all these performances. I think they're
I
all
do.
pretty good.
I love her.
I wanted her more.
Yeah.
Because she is really good.
She
She
is. Okay.
seems
Yeah.
broken in an authentic way,
Mhm.
but I wish she had a little more, I don't know.
Could have been a very, very
color.
rote character.
Yeah.
Because it's a very familial
I'm glad we saw her at her
plot line.
job.
Yes.
That's good.
Me too. I like seeing people be good at the things they do and liking
Yeah.
their work.
But I like her scene where she asks him if he
The
was ever
question.
with any other women, and
It's
he-
so good.
he's just like silent for like 80 minutes, and then he's like, "No," and she starts crying. It's
immediately.
great.
Well, and she says, it's fine no matter what, whatever the answer is, it's fine. I just have to ask you this question. It's not going to hurt me either way, so just be honest with me. And then the second he says no, she like breaks down into tears.
Right.
No cuts. So he's like really showing off that like Robin Wright didn't like do the first half of that scene and then go like, hey, I'm Night, can I have 30? And then like listen to, while my guitar gently weeps and like cut some onions and then cry. Like, she had to fucking do it on a dime. It's real acting.
Brought it.
I love her. I think she's one of the prettiest ladies of all time. I think she's a very
pretty.
underrated actress.
Gorgeous woman.
Wow.
I mean, Princess Bride, Robin Wright.
What does it say about me? I weirdly find her most attractive in this film.
That's weird.
Because she's
am a lunatic.
normal.
I mean, she's
Yeah.
very
It's just
pretty
like-
and she's very normal. I
She's
agree
not
with
being
you.
dressed up.
Yeah,
But I mean,
I do sexually
you're a lunatic.
fetishize normalness.
Okay, Spencer Treat Clark as Joseph Dunn.
Jonathan Taylor Thomas.
Which is weird. My name is David. My brother's name is Joseph. And the character's here are David and
Yes.
Joseph.
Is this a twist?
And your mom used to be married to Sean Penn.
Oh
Interesting.
That's terrible. Spencer Treat Clark. He's all right.
Sean Penn's kind of the guy in the orange poncho.
Here's the thing.
It's a hard
Yeah.
thing to do after Haley Joel Osment.
You know, I
right?
just saw him. It's very hard to do after
Yes.
Taylor Osment. He still kind of looks like that. He has this sort of very distinctive eyes and weird look.
Bobby Durst eyes.
Just saw him in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. He's still around.
He's
Spencer
still around.
Treat Clark. He was in Gladiator.
Is he
Yes.
still playing an 8-year-old or?
Still playing 8-year-olds.
God, this was a big year for him. Gladiator and Unbreakable came out in the same year.
Who did he play in Gladiator? Tiger?
He's the kid.
He's like
He played John
he's Oliver Reed. No, he did Oliver Reed's stand-in stuff
Wow,
after he died.
that's Incredible.
No, he's like
Connie
Nielsen's
son,
kid. Yeah.
Right.
He's fine. I don't know.
I think he's good.
Whatever.
I do remember at the time people being like, "Oh, new kid. I bet the kid's the key to the next Shyamalan movie." And so, like, when the kid ends up just sort of being like a
Kind of
side
sucks
thing.
because Spielberg, obviously Shyamalan's idol, steals Haley Joel Osment.
Yeah.
Sure.
And then
Gets the best performance
Shyamalan
out
gets
of
this
him.
kid.
Yeah, Shyamalan gets.
Yeah.
But then Shyamalan gets Abigail Breslin in the next one,
Yeah.
and Rory
Guess that's
Culkin.
good.
Yeah,
Rory, not
good
bad.
picks.
So other Charlene Woodard as Elijah's mother is very good. She's like an
Excellent.
experienced like state. She's a playwright. She's
Yeah.
a great actress.
Amy Walker.
Eamon Walker's the doctor is cool. The only other, I mean, the ER doctor in the scene with
Michael Kelly.
is Michael Kelly, from like House of Cards and stuff.
This movie's missing a Wahlberg.
Oh,
Why
this movie
is
could
the
use it.
Wahlberg not
Missing
the
a Wahlberg.
janitor guy?
They should at least go to a Wahlburgers location. One of the scenes could have been set at a Wahlburgers.
Why isn't he could have been a janitor at a Wahlburger, chaining people to Wahlburgers. I don't know. Wahlburgers.
And we should wrap up.
Yeah.
Well, David, there
let's
is
wrap.
one performance that you
M. Night Shyamalan?
texted to me. No, M. Night's fine in this movie.
At
It's a
Stadium
good,
Drug
it's
Dealer?
properly
Oh,
sized role.
you
There's
mean
one
the
performance that-
babysitter.
yes, you identified as your favorite performance of the film and said you wanted to talk about it. That's
She's
why I
great.
went to performance review.
Michaela Carroll. Here, I have a screenshot of her. It's a great little scene. Here she is.
She's so good.
Where
Is she the babysitter?
Yeah, where she reports to them that like he got news of a job in New
got
York
the job.
after their date, I think.
Yeah.
And she's like, by the way, thanks for telling me you're moving to New York. Geez, great guys. I mean, like she seems like she's losing work.
She's funny.
It's a weirdly funny little moment.
Yeah.
And Bruce Willis, of course, is like a dead like zombie man, and he's like, no,
Giving the
not-
performance of a
yeah.
lifetime. What other?
I think Flesh Golem. Did I call him a golem already?
Yeah, that was
He's-
that is
once
very
again,
accurate.
I thought you were referring to M. Night himself. What else has she done? Have you looked her up on IMDb?
Oh. I don't know.
In summation, best movie of all time.
Wow.
So you came back around.
I downgraded a little bit. I still love this movie. It's hard for me to
think
be
it's good.
critical. I really think it's excellent. I don't think it's perfect, but I like this combination of highbrow and lowbrow. I like.
Really did almost nothing else.
Really? That's a bummer. I'm gonna write a comeback picture.
She
for
was
her.
in a movie called Cerebral Print: The Secret Files as a character called Diamond.
That one is probably not a good movie.
Yeah, but you know what? She is very good in that. I will give her that. She is very good. Diamond is the breakout character.
Here is the cover. There you
Jesus
go.
Christ.
Anyway,
Do you notice the website underneath?
855films.com.
But it looks like Ass Films. The font they used was quite unfortunate. It's blocky to begin with, so the 5 looks like an S.
Okay.
Okay.
Now, I have to offer, I looked up any news regarding Unbreakable 2,
Okay.
and it looks like M. Night Shyamalan was interviewed by Collider, and it's not confirming anything, but I'll just give you some of his quotes here. So he says that during the time when he was initially pitching to Disney, Disney said, and quote, comic books, there's no market for comic books.
How wrong they were.
That's all they make
Disney,
now.
of all
It was a
people.
hilarious conversation.
What wretched fools they be.
I mean, that's the most fascinating thing about this movie. We got to wrap up, but
Yeah.
like in context now, like you can't believe like this is a superhero.
Maybe Poncho Man can show up to the Infinity Wars.
Yeah, maybe he'll be in the
Please.
Infinity War.
Let's call him Unbreakable.
Maybe the 5th Infinity Stone
Security.
is in Philadelphia.
Disney does own Unbreakable, though. It's
I
all
guess so,
they could
yeah.
work it into the Marvel Cinematic
As long as
Universe.
Ultron doesn't make it rain, Poncho Man will be there.
And the point he does make too is that I think it would be interesting to see this sequel in the market today because it's so different than all the comic book movies that
It
are
would have to
currently
look
out.
more like today's comic book movies. Hammerhand.
Yeah, right.
But like fucking Samuel Jackson's like in his late 60s now,
Yeah.
right? Bruce Willis is
I
getting
don't
pretty
wanna see
old.
it
I don't know
now.
if we need another Unbreakable movie.
My friend Jordan Fish used to say that he thought if they made a trilogy, it should be called Unbreakable, and then the second film would be called Breakable, and the third film would be called Broken. Good arc.
I like that.
I've thought about Unbreakable, Broken, and then Rebuilt.
Oh yeah,
Hey, classic
Although if it's
3-act.
Shyamalan, it's going to get sadder.
right. That's what I'm
Sadder.
saying.
right.
Make it sad. I like this movie. It defined my sense of cinema a lot. I watched it today. It feels a little more blunt. And,
Yeah, like a junior grid movie.
Yeah, but as a kid, it was like, oh, this is how movies work. This is what movies for grown-ups are sort of like, but it's still about kid stuff that you like.
A varsity good movie.
Yeah, and you like sad people.
I just, as we wrap up here, this movie, you guys are running a comedy podcast.
Yeah.
About
Well, wait a
movies
second. It's been redefined, reclassified on iTunes under TV and film. now,
Well,
so
let me just say, it's
we're
pretty
UCB
serious.
It's a funny,
network.
it's a funny podcast,
Rate
and
and subscribe.
I was watching Unbreakable, and I thought there were a lot of joke opportunities here. So I wrote
You did some punch-up.
I wrote some Unbreakable jokes. I
Okay.
just wanted to test them out.
This is
let's
great.
do it.
I love this.
Here we
Great
go.
way to
Ready?
do it.
This
Ready?
is like Ben. This is like your kind of corner.
Yeah,
I
so
love
this
this.
is
This is
like
great.
this is real true comedy. I think
Okay.
about using a stand-up set
Okay.
maybe.
So this section's
like
called this new segment
serious
called
jokes.
Matt's Serious Joke Cut.
yeah.
Bow, 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 bow,
Okay, knock knock.
bow. Who's there?
Haley Joel Osment.
Haley Joel Osment. Yeah.
Ha! This is the first time no one remembers Haley Joel Osment, and everyone loves Spencer Trake Clark. That's a pretty funny one.
That's
right?
good.
Okay,
It's a good start.
okay. Here
He
we
started
go.
strong.
Thanks.
I'm
Thank you.
gonna do that. for
Don't
every
do that.
joke.
Don't do that anymore.
All right,
I'll do
right.
different sound effects.
Here's the
after every
second joke. You ready?
Okay.
Knock knock.
Who's there?
David Dunn.
David Dunn. Who?
David Dunn, who? I'm the only survivor of a massive train crash. I'm fucking unbreakable.
I
All right, here's the third and final joke. Get ready.
hope it's a knock knock joke.
This is another classic 3-act structure here.
Yeah, perfect. It's the
Breakable,
Shyamalan
breakable,
way.
broken.
Knock knock.
Who's there?
Mr. Glass.
Mr. Glass who?
Ah! Open the door! I just broke my hand from knocking because I'm Mr. Glass.
No.
That was good. That was a
the
great,
best one.
great twist.
You got to
too.
finish strong. Great twist.
got me twisted.
Merchandise spotlight. I have
No.
I have thrilling news for our audience.
Okay, you got the Ray figure.
I found one.
Okay, good. All right, now you can
don't
shut
you don't
up
have to
about
send me
it.
toys.
He's been trying to get
Where'd
this
you get
fucking
it?
Ray action.
I
figure.
ordered it off Amazon. It was on stock at Amazon for like an hour. I had an alert for when it went back in stock.
That is insanity.
Yep.
toys.
Good thing I'm complete as a human being now.
Yeah, but how many Unbreakable toys do you own?
None.
Do they ever?
No.
No?
I would buy a Mr. Glass for $0, but I'd
buy a
have
ton of
one.
them.
There's not like a 14-inch
Poncho.
maquette of.
That's all I want. I've looked for any fucking piece of merchandise.
All right, guys, we got to wrap this up.
Thank you for listening.
It was wonderful to have Mr. Matt Patches.
Thanks. Everyone read Thrillist.
Yeah, do that. Listen
Thrillist
to
is great. It's
Fighting in the
honestly,
War Room.
Check out Thrillist.com,
Yeah.
man.
It's a thrill.
You're
there are
doing- you're
lists.
yeah, doing cool lists every day. I click every day now on those damn lists.
Your kids like lists, right?
The best kind of list, though.
Yeah.
Let's be honest.
Thrilling
There's a lot of
lists.
cheap
Yeah.
lists out on the
No,
internet.
it's a good
These
list.
thrill.
Yeah. Next week we will be covering the
Signs.
motion picture Signs
Mm-hmm.
with Murph Meyer and Diana Kolsky
Yeah, they're on board.
of Menage a Trois.
Yeah.
Boy, those
are-
two dirty birds.
There's a couple dirty birds.
Mm-hmm.
Spoiler alert: they've had sex.
All right.
They've
That's
had
enough
sex
of that.
with each
That's
other.
enough of that.
And
They're
also some
married.
other people. They're married and they have
All right.
sex
Okay.
with each
Okay.
other.
This is not how I want to end this podcast. Is there anything else?
No, I think
That's
we
it.
covered
We're-
everything.
we're right
Keep
there. Okay,
reviewing,
great.
rating, subscribing. Thanks for your support. Thanks again to Ray
keep
Montgomery.
sending in your suggestions for merchandise
Yep.
that you guys want.
Griffin
Setting up that
David
shop.
merch.
We're
blank
setting up
check
that shop.
branded. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and yes, please send in your fan fiction. We're looking for people who are shipping David, myself, and Ben in any combination with any number of our guests.
Oh God.
So if you have art,
They didn't
if
sign
you've
up
written
for that.
stories,
Can I write fan fiction about me
Yeah.
with you guys?
Yeah,
Oh
sure.
yeah,
okay,
yeah.
great.
We're
We're
Get
going to
it-
turn it
yeah.
into a comic book.
Blank check
Yeah.
Or,
pod.
excuse me,
Is
coloring
it blank
book.
check podcast at gmail.com?
blank check podcast at gmail.com, blank check pod
On Twitter.
on Twitter.
Yeah.
We do not have a MySpace page yet, but we're working on it.
We'll get there.
Friendster, we're waiting for approval,
Getting
but we're
a lot
going to
of
be at
copyrights
all the
cleared.
outlets. Yeah. You can download us on your Nokia N-Gage.
All right. Anyway,
Um,
thanks for listening, guys. Thank you, Matt.
Thank you.
We're going to start releasing
it's
episodes
fun.
on hit clips format, so if you can get some hit clips.
And as always,
I don't know. They
called you Mr. Glass.
No, I was going to say they called me Mr. Ass Films. I was going to try to tie it back into the Ass
Great.
Films thing, but then I wonder if it was too much of a reach, and it was.
They called you Mr. Ass.
They called me Mr. Ass Films.
All right. Thank you.
Go to www.assfilms.com.
No, it's 855.
Okay, but if you go to Ass Films, you might have more fun.
Stop.
This movie's about butts.
Stop.
Butt movie.